What a night we got tonight for you guys. What a show. Guys, CrossFire, 7 p.m. Eastern. Very excited. Thursday night. A lot of news to get to. Just got that. I'm shocked I still have a voice. The Mets actually won their first game of the season. We're 1-5. It's not a reason to stand up and light a match. But when you get to 0-5, you're like, I don't know if this is going to be the season I thought we were going to have. Nonetheless, we're not going to talk sports tonight. We got an outstanding panel. As you can see, we have some more guests joining us as the 2 hours goes on. But as you can see, the super chat's already working. The great Jay Bari, hit that like button, people. It's going to be one great time, one good time. It definitely is going to be, Jay. It's a miracle the super chat's working, guys. Please let me know how the audio is, guys. I want to make sure everything sounds just right so you can hear every single one of these panel members as they give their opinions on these hot topics. Please also tweet it out. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Your name comes up in lights. So it's great to see everybody here. Great to see everybody that's kind of just shuffling in as the show gets started. That being said, take a look at that fantastic description. If you happen to walk in and go, you know, I only knew about one topic. I wonder what's going on. That description right there will tell you exactly what's going on. It'll tell you exactly what's going to happen tonight. And right above that is the join button. If you guys would consider, please joining the channel. It really does make a huge difference. We're doing great work over here. We're doing great work over at twitch.tv. It's Mooch TV over there. Drop the O's for zeros, M00CHTV. Guys, we're doing the entire run of Elden Ring. The entire run of Elden Ring. And we have made unbelievable progress. Unbelievable progress. It's a blast over there. I really encourage you guys to come over and check it out as well and follow over on that channel. That being said, saying thanks to each one of these Mooch Maniac family members means the world to me. And I see all you guys talking to me in the chat. I will be responding to you guys in one moment, but I want to shout these guys out one by one. We game together. We talk every week. We talk video games. The great JudaZuk, WoolleyGamer, MumbleRanting Gaming. That's a tough one to say. Tyson Webb 509, TrueWiddy, Alphonso Carter, BRAP. Jimmy Harrison, the great Jimmy Harrison, Damion, Andy Hart, Red Hood 420, Ham Solo 5, Rob Jones, Night Ripper 7, Toto Dope, Thumbs, JC 2013, Lord Metroid, who's here, Rabbit Got the Gun, Fastbender, Archwar Angel, Biggity 08, Slow-Mo Backslap, shout out to Slow-Mo and the great Gaming Forte, by the way, who I know always listens to the show. He works on these nights, so it's hard for for Forte to be here, but those guys do DPS podcast, 9 p.m. Eastern. Okay, right after this show. So it's a great back-to-back thing. It's kind of like, it's the old, like, Leno, Letterman, or maybe whatever it was back in the day. Outstanding. I love it. The more podcasts back-to-back, the better. So go over and check out DPS podcasts after this show. Henry Heck, Silent Merc, Ocelot, J-Row49, Anthony Dixon, Brieros, Neil S., our Major Mooch Maniacs, Hero Down Under, CR Bruin, Mash. Shout out to Mash, by the way. Great to have Mash here. Mash is just an outstanding individual. Really helps the channel. Gave a lot of subs out and got everybody enjoyed and part of the channel over the past 2-3 weeks. So thanks, Mash. I appreciate that. Ekim, Bitrate, RPG88, 4-Star General, Truth Serum, your boy Roy, Scolari Brothers, DC Gaming, Miko, Jay Bari, and Gaming with Persona. You guys know you're going to hear from Jay Bari in a second. But guys, go over and check them out. 11 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday mornings. That's how I start my Saturdays. That's how you guys should start yours with What's Up PlayStation. Tactical Gamer, Danelle Brown, that guy Smitty, our VIP Mooch Maniacs, the Wise Old Gamer, Raji, Domino Zero, and our honorable mentions. They're out there with a food, water, toilet. We miss you. Shout out to Delirium Blades, Slaying Chilean, and General Thad Ape, and our forever Mooch Maniacs, Longshot 316, and the great Optimus Code. That being said, I have to say a special shout out again. The great Detective Seeds, who's on the show tonight, gives 10 Mooch memberships. Guys, that means the world to me. Seeds, thank you so much. We're going to get to Seeds in a second, and I can't wait to hear what he's got to say about tonight's topics. And I see out there, Danelle Brown, he's probably making fun of my Mets. I'm going to read that super chat in a second. Guys, without further ado, it's been way too long. It's great to have the great Crap Gamer back with us again. Crap, welcome back to CrossFire, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Good. Hold on. Sarah Bond just tweeted, which means I gotta undertweet her, asking her not to put her all the exclusives that Xbox has on PlayStation because it's a foolish move. So I've been doing that almost every day. She tweets a lot, so I'm always like, "Hey, what are you doing? You know, come on, don't do that. You guys
Please don't do that.
You're killing Xbox. Come on, man. Come on. You know, you guys can do better than that. You know, come on, you guys are Xbox. But yeah, you know, it's good to be back. I'm looking at I forgot that I got the Don Matrick avatar.
You do. It's great. Donnie D. I told you I missed Donnie. I told you that a long time ago.
But I saw that look in that picture, and he's just like, you know what I mean?
Well, you know,
Like, and it's just one of those things where, you know, I love that picture. So yeah, it's funny. and here's the funny part, right? Like, I'm an Xbox fan. I am. Like, people try to go, oh, you're a pony now, and I'm like, when am I hyping up PlayStation? You know, I'm just pissed because Xbox is screwing up. Like, I never thought that they would screw up so bad that their consoles are doing worse now than the console that tried to take our rights as gamers. Think about that for a second. A console literally tried to take gamers' rights, no used games, DRM all the time, TV focused, forced to connect on us, $100 more expensive but less powerful, and that console sold better than what we have now. Like, that tells you all you need to know, right? Like,
yes. It's amazing.
I'm
It's
baffled.
It's mind blowing, to be honest with you.
I'm baffled by the like. Is there nobody there? Like, I can remember like Phil Spencer's coming out and saying, you know, yeah, I was in the room when they were making these decisions and I didn't speak up and blah blah blah. It's like, is there nobody with some balls in Microsoft? Like, speak up and tap somebody on the shoulder and go, you know, a bird in the bush is worth, you know. That saying is basically saying, don't go chasing stuff that's not there and lose the things that you have, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it feels like Microsoft is like doing that thing where they're trying to go after these alleged billions of gamers who, if they wanted to game, would already have been gaming, right? At the expense of the gamers that they had. And I always just felt that if you have 3 consoles and that are selling healthy, that leads to a much better industry than just 2.
Yes.
And, you know, like, if you look back to like what people consider the best industry, the best time, it was the 360 PS3 Wii industry. All 3 pies were getting pretty equal piece of the pie. We got the most games. Look, I mean, the games that we got that generation: Halo 3, Call of Duty 4, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Gears of War, the Uncharted series. You know, it was like Saints Row came out that generation, Assassin's Creed, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, Dead Space trilogy came out. BioShock trilogy came out. We were getting more games. We were getting the best games in history because, you know, Microsoft came out with achievements, so Sony came out with trophies. Microsoft invented, you know, did the party chat thing. Entertainment started coming out to our consoles. You know, Netflix was a thing. All the stuff that we have now is thanks to that generation. I mean, Sony started giving away free games for PlayStation Plus, so Microsoft had to copy it, right? It was like they would go back and forth and compete, and when you have that competition, it was a great thing. It's like, which one is better, Uncharted or Gears of War? I don't know. I was playing both, so who gives a shit?
Right. See,
like,
crap,
so, and now it's like, we gotta
get you more on. You're doing a solo cast.
You don't have. Well, yeah, you know, I got a lot to say. What are you gonna do?
Crap,
but it's like, you don't have anything like that. You know, it's like a totally different time, and you know, it's like a one-man show. You got Nintendo for what they do, and then you got Sony doing what they do. It's like, you know, that's not good for the industry. And Phil Spencer talks about the industry nonstop. Oh, we got to do better for the industry. It's like, Phil, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
The industry would be better if Xbox was selling worth a damn, right? If people weren't confused and, you know, had a reason to buy one. So, you know what I'm saying? Like, damn. And I used to be a big, you know, Phil guy, right? Like, I was like, oh, he saved it. But I still see people kind of like protect this man, right? Like, oh, it's really, you start to, it's Satya making these calls. Satya. I'm like, Satya didn't decide to buy Activision. Satya didn't decide to buy ZeniMax. You know, those are Phil Spencer things. Let's stop covering for these millionaires and, you know, start expecting more from them. You know, it's up to them to listen to the fans. And I, as a fan, do not feel listened to at the least. When, like, Xbox to me, and I've said this a million times, like, Xbox to me is a console. It's a console. You can do other stuff. PlayStation is doing other stuff too, but they don't make their console owners feel like shit. Right?
Yeah.
You bought on it. Like Phil Spencer in that latest interview with Polygon, he's like, well, not to be sharded, but you don't get that experience, that feeling you do like when you're on a PC with a console. Like, he's hyping up PC over console in an interview.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he like, oh, you bought an Xbox? Let me kick you in the nuts a couple times. How do you like that? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you guys like Xbox? Well, let's make all of our games look better that we put on PlayStation. We didn't give you shit in 2022, but let's put that whole 2022 first party slate on PlayStation, right, and make them all better. Hey, I don't believe in timed exclusive DLC or exclusive DLC for anything, hats or whatever, but let's give Sea of Thieves exclusive PS5 DLC that can't be on anything else, right? Like, I mean, this is the stuff that we're seeing, like the lies.
That's what we were saying when you came in for the pre-show. It's like you almost wanted to see spaces, and I'll go to the great Jay Barry next. We wanted to see great spaces today, but to be honest with you, the shock factor of Xbox is either giving the farm away or just not putting in the effort. It seems to be the shock factor is low these days because it's happening more and more with Redfall, right? We saw it with Starfield. We're seeing it now again with Hellblade 2. You're seeing it, like you said, with the 4 games that are going over to PlayStation in Hi-Fi Rush and Sea of Thieves, where they're getting better versions of the game. So, like you said, it's just hit after hit after hit, but the reverse of what we used to say back in the day. So
it's confusing. Like I sent you that video clip that I clipped from Podcast Unlocked from 2 years ago, and Phil Spencer's doing an interview with Ryan McCaffrey, Shaggy Dog, and he's and Phil's like, I wonder what it means to be an Xbox gamer, the full experience, and I hate this idea that people, whenever we come out with a game, people go, is that game going here? Is it going there? And I want to set a much better expectation for them in the future, right? He's talking, don't want to put their games everywhere to have people wondering, but that's exactly what people do. Like, if you look at comments on the Hellblade 2 stuff today, a lot of the comments were, well, when's this going to come to PlayStation, right? And the truth is, you never know. When it would come to play. Like, can anybody right now that's watching this, or anybody, 100% firmly say it's not coming to PlayStation?
I don't think you'll let anybody just put money down on that.
You can never say that any game is not, and that is the problem with Xbox right now. Because in a world where you could get a PlayStation and play Xbox and PlayStation games, or just Xbox where you could only play Xbox games, it's not a pretty look for Xbox. Not a good look.
Let me do this crap. You're 100% right. Let me get through the rest of the intros real quick.
We're still doing intros.
Yeah, we're doing intros. That's all right. No, we're gonna go right to the but I'll go right there. Jay, you got a lot of people in the audience calling. Where's Jay Barry? They want the real New Yorker to stand up, please. Jay, great to have you back on the show. And crap, actually, to be honest with you, I'm kind of glad he put all of that out front, because Jay, we're gonna touch base on pretty much everything crap just went over. Jay, how you doing tonight?
Hey man, I was letting crap go, man.
Yeah,
this is what we need.
Yeah,
let's talk about it.
This is the type of energy we need, man. But crap, I got a song for you, man.
Yeah,
I got a song for you, crap. You know what I mean? Because you're a legend, and I want to sing to you, the best listener on YouTube. I want to sing to you. Okay. Let it go, let it go. You're not an Xbox fan anymore. Let it go, let it go. It's over. They don't care about the console no more, man. Today, it proved that to me, because we have seen many things that Phil Spencer has said, especially on Kind of Funny, how it's going to change how, we're going to know about the performance and all the information about the game before the game release. But a month before the game release, now you know the game is at 30 frames a second, not in January. It's craziness, man. But listen, everybody, hit the like button, share the stream out, because this is going to be a legendary podcast today. It's been a while since I've been in CrossFire.
Yes.
We about to kick some shins. We about to talk the truth, and we're going to speak from the goddamn heart. Let's go and hit the like button.
That's what I'm talking about, Jay. The great TCMF too. TC, I know. Listen, the reason I said it would be great for me, Jay, and Crap to go in the beginning here, TC. It'll let you get that editing done, because I want to kidnap you for 2 hours at least. TC, welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm excited for the show. It seems like everybody's heated in terms of the conversation. I didn't know it was going to be... I didn't see the list right away, but I didn't know it was going to be heated like that. But it seems like it's going to be an interesting show, because we just started off with a whole essay on like the situation. Crab Gamer, I think he was letting some stuff out.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm interested to see how this plays out.
All right, TC, great to have you here. And he's returning for his second week, the great Detective Seeds. First of all, let me just go ahead and say first and foremost, thank you very much for those gifted subs. Again, that's outstanding on your part. Thank you for supporting the channel. I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. Great having you on the show. I love your takes. I love what you do on YouTube. I love what you're doing on Twitter. You are growing. You're letting people know your opinions, and I love hearing them. So, DS, I'm glad you're on the show again tonight with us, buddy. How you doing this evening?
Yeah, man. Thanks again for having me back on. I feel like I just sat around a circle of dudes and we just listened to someone pour their heart and soul out.
That's right.
We all kind of nodded our heads, like, yeah. It was kind of one of those therapy sessions. So, I look forward to talking. Obviously, I think the news today, I was on BRAP last night, and we kind of talked about Hellblade. I wish last night I wouldn't have said if Hellblade comes out at 30 frames per second. I wish I would have said when, because then I probably would have looked like an absolute psychic. So, But yeah, man, appreciate you having me back on. Appreciate you, putting this together and inviting all these guests on, and look forward to chopping it up with you guys.
Well, you guys know it's Crossfire, so chime in whenever you guys want. I will say this much. Shout out to the great Basement Raid Arcade podcast. BRAP is doing some family functions tonight, so shout out to BRAP. Maybe he'll be able to join us at the end of the show. We're not sure, but he said he'll definitely be back next week. I'm going to start with Jay Barry, because Jay, honestly, Crap really did put that out there. He put that level out there, and now we're kind of saying, okay, here's my first topic, first and foremost. Okay, Hellblade 2, and I know that everybody was saying this was old news, but for some reason it surfaced today, and it really, maybe because it just Velcroed right to the 30 FPS thing, but they lose their chief creative director over at Ninja Theory. Old news, got it, I understand. But now, Jay, they're saying 30 FPS. This is the third of there's other big games out there, and I know Crap put a list out there. I actually think I have his list earlier. You have Flight Sim, other games, other things have come out. What is it there? Redfall.
They did 5. This will be the 5th current gen only game, the 5th one, right? So they did Redfall that launched at 30. Flight Sim launched at 30.
Yep.
Starfield launched at 30. This one's going to launch at 30, and then Forza Motorsport was 60. But again, it's just
Was it though?
Was what?
Was Forza 60?
Yeah.
Oh shit!
I'm not sure. I don't know.
It is. It's 60.
It wasn't solid.
Speak from the heart, brother. What you got to say, man? What are you saying? It's not 60.
Well, I reviewed that game. I got about 50 hours into it, and if that is a solid 60 frames per second, it may have been advertised as 60 frames per second, but that game did not hold at 60 frames per second like I would expect from Turn 10 Studios.
It was a 60 target.
That was a 60 target. That was not holding 60 frames per second. Like I said, I got about 40, 50 hours into it. Thankful that I got a free review code at the beginning to check it out early. But that game was a downturn from what Turn 10 Studios is known for making. So I don't even think that could be classified as being a solid 60 frames per second.
What? You know what it was 60 frames per second on PC, just like Hellblade will be, because it's a goddamn shame that this console that eat monsters for breakfast can't get a goddamn 60 frames per second console or next gen exclusive on there. And people like to ignore the elephant in the room, which is not really an elephant, it's like a mouse, but it's that Series S that is out there where you got to have that parity with the consoles, where the console that eats monsters for breakfast can't shine because you got this little mouse that's shitting up your goddamn. My bad, Mooch.
No, dude, you speak from the heart.
That's just messing up your whole goddamn place. Tweet, all over the goddamn place. The problem with Xbox, man, Phil Spencer, he got to stop doing interviews. This is real talk. This is not even me trolling. This is not no fanboy. He got to stop doing interviews, because every time he does an interview, he contradicts himself. He's talking about he's targeting the Gen Z. Xbox is pivoting to Gen Z because mobile, PC, console. How comes like the mobile side, everybody's going to have a different performance depending on what mobile device you're going to play the game on, right?
Yeah.
Why you can't do that for the console? Why is it so much parity with the console? You know what I mean? If the Series X is more powerful, why can't it be like, okay, we can run this game much lower resolution but higher frame rate here on the Series X, but that's not tied to, the Series S is going to run at 30 frames, whatever. To me, it's mind-boggling, because if you're going for the Gen Zers, the people that's going to have multiple different configurations with their PCs, their phones, and all that stuff. That's you're not parity. You're not having parity on cell phones. You're not having parity on PCs. It goes depending on the hardware that the person's playing on. Why is that not the case with a console? You know what I mean? It's just weird. But at the end of the day, I feel like it's a goddamn shame. I understand that they're pushing a real next gen engine. Mm-hmm. But it's a goddamn shame that everything that this console has been promoting before it came out, they have not delivered fully on. When it came to ray tracing, there was the ones that was marketing and promoting that fail. 60 frames a second is going to be the standard. People was making fun of performance modes and different modes when it came to PlayStation showing off their games in 30, but having a performance mode at launch of the game. With Ratchet and Clank and other games, people was making fun of that. No, Xbox don't need performance mode. It's going to be the standard. You had company representatives saying the same thing. Standard. Failed on that aspect. What happened to VRR?
Yeah.
This is the same people that was promoting that all over the place. How come Hellblade 2 is not having an unlocked frame rate where VRR is capturing all those fluctuations where you're not really seeing that stuff on your screen? What the hell is going on over there in that console, man? Everything they have been promoting, they have not delivered on, and it's showing with the games further and further and further. You're in 2024 now, and you're still having only 30 frames a second. Because personally, 30 frames a second is not an issue for me. I don't have an issue playing a game in 30 frames a second, but not having other options to play the games in, especially what we're seeing that much more in this generation, is a shame. Especially for a game like that is more linear. I understand it's a graphical beast, but it's a linear type game. It's a short game. How come this game doesn't have any of those options of a balance mode, performance mode with Hellblade 2? It's a shame.
It has to be, Jay. It really does come down to the Xbox Series S, and I know a lot of people they don't want to say that, but it really is. It is the culprit, I think, when it comes down to it. And I do want to hear what Seeds and what TCF say. Shout out to Damion, by the way. He says, hit that like button. Oh, and Mooch, it's go Yankees. Listen, I don't hate the Yankees, but I am a Mets fan through and through. Orange and blue, all the way through. Tactical Gamer, shout out to him. He says, what's up? The Mets, Mooch, we finally won. For your information, I'm still stuck in Africa, so many games to play. Hey, buddy, we're still waiting. Tactical, the minute you get back here to the States, pardon me, we're running through Helldivers 2. That's something we're still running through, buddy. So the minute you get back here, you let me know. Shout out to Donnell Brown. He says, I love it when you, Jay, and BRAP are happy because I know in a few weeks you'll all be depressed and sad when football season starts. The great Donnell Brown, everybody. Always got to he takes a jab at those New York sports every day. Warawana says 30 FPS lets me absorb each frame for longer. Fire, okay. Shout out to Billy Badass. He says, I see filmic, in quotes, is trending again. Smiling emoji. Mega Cloud says all people wanted in 2013 was a beefier 360, but instead it was TV. Love you guys. Mega, right back at you. Thank you. And Billy Badass is back. He says, return of the pony leg breaker extraordinaire. Absolutely. So, Seeds, what do you think? You heard Crap's point. You heard Jay's point. You even made a couple points about Forza, which, I mean, to me, that's, I'll take your word for it. But I in all honesty, this is a situation where I think that Hellblade needed to reach that 60 frame mark. Do you think it's something that they'll patch in later down the road?
I think so. I think the reason I kind of dug into Forza a little bit is because I'm a huge Forza fan. And that game was kind of the turning point for me of looking at Xbox Studios as a whole and saying, there's something not right. Like, there's something going on. I reviewed Redfall, reviewed Minecraft, and then Starfield. And Forza was the one that I was like, man, this is a downgrade from what they've shown, and this was a downgrade from what we've experienced in the past. There were things not put in here that should have been, and it just made me think there is something going on, and I don't know what the answer is to that. When it comes to Hellblade 2, I do think that it should have hit 60. I do prefer 60 FPS, but I think the biggest issue for me is not just that it's 30, but that there isn't an option to select for 60. I really like when games have the performance option or the quality option so that you can select both and game how you want to game. I will say that game is made in UE5, and there were two games that I reviewed, I think it was last year, Immortals of Avium and Lords of the Fallen. Both of those games were made in UE5. I know for sure that Immortals of Avium had a selector to be able to toggle performance and quality. But when you went into performance mode, it targeted 60 FPS, but it had a ton of dips. It was not very stable. So when it comes to this game specifically, I don't know if, does UE5 have some limitations in it to where when they increase that resolution and then they try to increase the frames, are they not able to hold it and it just jumbles everything together and they lose that? Or is it because of the parity that they have to do in terms of Xbox Studios? Is it the parity they have to do with the Series S? I think it could be a combination of both, because there is obviously, and I haven't had anyone be able to explain to me yet what is happening with Xbox Game Studios that makes sense, other than the Xbox Series S is causing significant development issues for making it for both as well as PC. And they are struggling to have that parity in there between the X and the S. And we are not getting the full capabilities that we should if they only had the X. And so
I agree
I'm
with
interested to see what everyone else says.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the game is probably going to look good. Okay. I do think that it's going to look good. It's going to be in a very tight environment. It's going to be, I think it's going to look. I think it'll look good because of how heavy the cinematic is. I don't know if you guys played the first game, but I do think that it's going to look good in UE5. But I definitely think if it gets an upgrade to 60 frames per second, I think you're going to see the heavy differences that you would have had if it had the 60 FPS compared to not having it.
Like Unreal Engine 5, I hear is like a huge like resource hog, but like when I read the article and what the information that they're delivering, they're saying like it's dynamic resolution. It's not even like it's native. So like, yeah, I understand that, you know, it could be a resource hog, and I know people's having issues with Unreal Engine 5, but not to even like have like a 40 frame per second mode, you know, that we see in other games.
Oh, I agree.
It's just weird to me, you know what I mean? Or unlock frame rate is just weird to me, but not having no option at all. And this is multiple games that's happening here.
Not having those options. That is a problem, because you had Redfall that came out. There's no reason that game should not have been at 60 FPS, or at least had both options, because it got patched in 4 months later, 5 months later, whatever it was. There's something going on, and I would love for someone to explain exactly what it is. But I continue to come back that the Xbox Series S and the studios that are developing these games, especially under that roof of Microsoft, are having some significant issues in getting parity in there to have both of those options. And
yeah, because you know, it's funny too. Like, yeah, Hellblade is a game that I thoroughly like. I like the game. I like the original game. But from what I'm reading, when it comes to these impressions and these articles, it's not too much different from the first game. You know, when it comes to combat, just the world itself. They're saying that the combat is similar to the first game, but it's just impact is just much more heavier. They're saying that they talk about the parry window. They spoke about as far as like animations and like mocap seems like to be like the big highlight thing here. But the puzzles are going to be the same. But Hellblade has a 60 frames per second option with Series S. I think they added with PS5 or PS4 Pro as well. So the game is graphically is way better, but still it's the same type of confines that you're playing it with the first game. Why is there no other option? That is just weird to me. I feel like they should explain that more, but you will never get that from like Xbox. You know what I mean? Like, you know how, and not to do the comparison thing, but when PlayStation releases a game, right? They will have a blog and they will explain a whole bunch of details. Some details you don't ever give a damn about, but they go into depth with the game. It's like, all right, here's why we're doing this mode, or why we're having these performance options, and why we're able to get these performance options. They speak about this stuff. Xbox, you don't get that. You don't get that type of dialogue or information when it comes to their games.
No, you don't get that kind of information and dialogue. You know, TC, I want to hear your point on this, because I'll be honest with you. I know that this is stuff you've said on the show many a times. And I think that it is becoming almost like a rerun here, in the sense that here it is again. But I think Crap's points of, is this, I know that the UE5 engine has its difficulties, and we have a couple super chats, by the way, guys. I see the super chats, and we will read those points. Some people are making a case for Xbox here in the super chats that I do want to bring up. But TC, when you read this news that came out today, what were your first thoughts? I mean, because I know you were out there, you were tweeting, you were very busy today on social media. What were your initial thoughts?
Well, I was tweeting about other things, not related to Hellblade.
That's true.
I haven't played the first game, but I've heard some people say it's a game that I might like, even in my like personal life, that this is the game you might like, based on what I've played. I checked out the Hellblade 2 trailer. I've seen the trailers so far. The trailers before, they were pretty to look at, but the trailer that I saw recently, the one that dropped recently, I think it was at IGN. Not a trailer, it was like a walkthrough. That got me more interested in the game. I know it's a shorter game. but the visuals do look great. I just hope the combat is interesting. It kind of reminded me of Infinity Blade, which is a mobile game, but not to take a hit at it. It was just kind of the arena, and then you're just fighting like one dude and another dude. But it looks interesting. Visuals are gorgeous. When it comes to 30 FPS, I'll be honest, a lot of PlayStation gamers play at 30 FPS, and I think other people have said this, and this is something that I was going to say when I was asked about this. It's the lack of option for 60 FPS. And I remember this was a huge discussion. Again, me going glass, I'm kind of reiterating a lot of the conversation, because at the beginning of this era, 60 FPS was such a thing that was thrown in everybody's face. Teraflops, 60 FPS. I remember
the
those
buzzwords,
conversations.
the magic buzzwords, yeah.
Magic buzzwords. The game looks really good. For me, 30 FPS is not an issue. It's just the issue of not having 60 FPS, and that's why I'm excited for something like the PlayStation 5 Pro. I've talked about it so much. It'll be hilarious if Hellblade 2 comes to PlayStation and it runs 60 FPS on PS5 Pro.
Right.
But no, like I think some people are making this a big conversation on Twitter just because of all the times that they made it a big deal for the PlayStation side. They're like, again, reiterating the conversation that some people said, where they're like, we don't need a different modes. It'll run at the best resolution, best performance, and that was quickly shut down not long after the launch of both of these consoles. But yeah, that's really my take. It's not really the biggest deal in the world. The game looks gorgeous. It's just the lack of 60 FPS. And the thing about it is, I've seen some people make the point of it being a cinematic game. There's a lot of games on PlayStation that are very, very cinematic. And even the IGN video, which was interesting to I don't know if any of you guys watched it, they said when they tried out Hellblade 2, it was very reminiscent of a PlayStation game in terms of what you get from PlayStation Studios, because PlayStation Studios titles are very cinematic, and all of these games, and they reference God of War Ragnarok, which is also a game that offers 60 FPS. But I'm interested in checking it out. I don't know if I'll play the first game, but I don't have as big of a heated conversation as some other people.
No, I do.
Yo, TC, that's the conversations we was having, years ago when it came to Hellblade 1. And when Hellblade 1, a lot of people on the Xbox side, they hated that game because it was calling a walking sim. I remember those conversations. It was hating the hell out of the game. When it came to Xbox, they was like, oh, it came to Xbox. Oh, this game is great now. Now that I finally played it, I love Hellblade. And now when they bought them, love it. But yeah, of course, a lot of similarities to a lot of PlayStation type games as far as the world, the walking dialogue and setting up story and all that stuff. But
like some of those scenic views in the IGN walkthrough, this was I was happy to see it like that, and not just that same monster and the cave that they keep showing.
Yes.
The IGN walkthrough, they had like very different separate scenes that and I'm a sucker for horror games, and I think that's I don't fully know the Hellblade situation, but from what I understand, it is because of and the thing they're mentioning of the binaural audio, that gets me excited too, because I have my surround sound set up here, and I love whatever tries to take advantage of that. So I'm really curious to test that out outside of using my own headset.
Let me see.
But I know Dolby Atmos has an issue on Xbox with surround sound. I haven't tested that out yet. My PS5, I have that going, but yeah.
Well, let me say this real quick. Shout out, first of all, to the great gaming with Persona. Persona's in the house. And also, we have King Kami TV. Great to have as a Cammy. I hope I'm saying it right. Great to have him here in the chat as well. I got a couple of super chats. Now, Warawana, I did want to say, I'm going to read your super chat, but remind me later, we are going to talk about the Xbox rumored handheld. So I'll read it now, but I'll read it again later. Warawana says, what if Xbox handheld is actually a mobile phone? They use it to get back into the mobile phone market long term. Satya says they pulled mobile early. I think that's a bit. Now it's a good like segue into that topic. We're not there yet. Blessed Red says, now hear this out. He says, saying the Xbox Series S is holding back. I know this is going to get Jay Barry real riled up. Saying the Xbox Series S is holding back the Xbox Series X from getting 60 frames makes as much sense as saying the PS4 is holding back the PS5 from having 60 FPS in a game. I I mean, I don't know if anybody wants to respond to Blessed Red on that.
That's a dumbass comment, man.
I don't
because there's no the PS4 is not holding back the PS5. They have the options. You have the 60 and a 120 or even higher frame rate modes with the PS5 version of the game. You're making my point for me by even doing a comparison with PS4. Like, yo, my whole thing is bringing up the whole parity option or the parity clause what they have with the Xbox consoles. It's like, yeah, the Xbox Series S is holding back the Xbox Series X because the reason why you're not having those options with these games is because they have to have both consoles have parity as far as performance when it comes to the frame rates and all that stuff. Yeah, you're going to have differences with the resolution, but the frame rate, they're not going to be like, oh, this... For whatever Xbox reason, they're not gonna be like, oh, you get this 60 frames and 100 frame here, but not
What's
here
the
on
resolution on the Series S? Anybody know? Sorry,
they haven't spoken on it.
They have not. I don't believe that's been mentioned. No.
Oh, I don't want to hear 720p.
Well,
Baldur's Gate 3 is kind of the first game that really made Xbox break.
Let go of the parity of it.
Let go of that parity. I saw the other super chat that said Xbox Series X and S do not have a parity. Just on January 16, 2024, Tech Radar, going by them, both consoles share the same library, meaning that developers making games for the more powerful Xbox Series X must ensure that they will also run to the same satisfactory standard on the Xbox Series S. That was as of January 16, 2024. That sounds like parity to me. I don't know.
Well, let me chime in real quick because there's a lot of games that have come out that run 60 frames or better on Xbox Series X, but 30 on the Series S. One offhand is Guardians of the Galaxy, 60 frames on Series X, and it's only 30 frames on the Series S. So there's multiple games.
What about the first party games? Crap. There's none on the first.
They haven't hardly released any first party games. It's like listen, like I get a lot of people are outraged or whatever. I had never ever thought that this game was going to be 60 frames. It's letterboxed, right? It's a letterboxed game. They seem like they.
I don't know if you would give that as a reason for not to offer 60 FPS.
I mean, just you could tell from the letterboxing when we saw all the previews even 2 years ago on the Game Awards. I was like, I knew this game was 30. It was never good. Like, I had more issue with Starfield being 30 than I did with this because I knew that this would be 30. You're only going to face one enemy at a time. It's mostly kind of an adventure, look around type game. So yeah, like I knew that was going to be the case. Just like the Order 1886, just like the hell was that game we were talking about earlier, Mooch? Evil Within. Yeah, they had that the letterboxing more pisses me off than the frame rate. Right, I hate letterboxing games. Like, why would you do that? Like, if they really were going for a cinematic, I mean, that means that they weren't lying. They probably never had 60 on the cards. So, like, I like the game. To be honest with you, I've watched some reviews on it. Looks like Microsoft could have a Game of the Year contender. It's a slow year, right? I'm going to be honest with you. It looks great, right? The game looks fantastic. They're saying it's maybe the best looking game this generation. Maybe they have that finally. I don't know. I'm not disappointed in that as much as I am the letterboxing. But yeah, I will say that there's multiple third-party games because I have both consoles. I have a Series S and X, and there's multiple consoles that run 30 frames or games that run 30 frames on the S that are 60 on or more on the Series X. So there's also games that have like different things, third-party games that have well before Baldur's Gate, where they would have like some features. Shadows and this and that on the Series X, but those weren't there on the Series S. So I think when they mean parity, what they probably meant was like game modes. I think that was the big thing with Baldur's Gate was you couldn't play locally or something, right? Like you could do that co-op locally on the Series X, but not the Series S, and that was the issue because you have to have the same game modes, right? Like that was the parity, not frame rate or some of these other things. Like, I mean, I get it, man. People hate Xbox. They screw up a lot, but I'm not gonna with what I know. I'm not gonna sit here and go, okay, every game has been 60 on both because it hasn't. There's been numerous games What's that zombie game you like, Mooch, where you run around and
Dead Island?
parkouring? Yeah, not Dead Island.
Dying Light.
Yeah, Dying Light 2. That's anher one. 30 on the
what's
Series
that
S.
game you like running
60.
around and killing zombies?
Yeah, you run around parkouring and stuff.
Yes,
so it's like,
Dying Light, yeah.
There's other games that have been like that. Maybe it'll like I'm the most suspect that I am on that is Starfield, because Digital Foundry was like, yeah, it seems like they could probably do 40, 50 frames on the Series X.
Yeah, but that is exactly what I'm saying. I'm saying like bringing up games like Dying Light 2, that because they have different frame rates with the S and the X. It's basically yes. So let me ask you this: do you think Hellblade 2 can be 60 frames or higher than 30 frames on the Series X?
On the Series X, I honestly don't think so.
So you're saying that it won't run the game higher than 30 frames or 60 frames on the Series X?
That game with what we saw like graphically, no, I don't think it would. That's just my opinion. I'm not a tech guy.
Which game is Jay? Which game are you talking about?
Hellblade 2.
Oh, Hellblade 2. See, crap. The thing is, I understand the UE5 debate, but the fact that the thing you said where you're fighting one enemy at a time, and yes, it's graphically probably going to be one of the biggest stunners of the year by far. And I don't think anybody, I don't care what side of the fence you're on, nobody second guessed Ninja Theory that this one's going to be a great looking game. But I thought because of the pace of the game and the puzzles and things like that, that at least like Jay said, if you're not going to do 60, there would be an uncapped or a 40 frame, something that would give you a little bit more of that free feeling while you're gaming than the lock 30. Again, I know a lot of people in the audience that are gamers and have played and said, Mooch, you're making a big deal out of this 30 thing for nothing. That's fine. But it really is a conversation back to when we first started the show and Crap was telling you about the things that were promised and things of that nature back in 2019 leading to the release in 2020 for the Series X. This was supposed to be that next generation. You had people that work for Microsoft that said 60 frames will be the standard. I understand he's the marketing guy. I understand he came out and backed it up, kind of backwalked it a bit. I understand all that. But these are the things that they said, and they're not delivering on these things. Like Redfall. Redfall, if you want to sit there and make all the excuses in the world for UE5, how about Redfall? I mean, was Redfall also, why did that have to wait for a patch? That should be something. It just seems like management doesn't have their finger on the pulse on a lot of these things.
That was a really kind of appalling, egregious situation with Redfall because, that they promised that, and then like, what was it, a week before it came out? Yeah. They're like, yeah, it's and even a month before it comes out. I mean, like maybe they should have mentioned this months ago. But it's like, people are like, Dragon's Dogma is a Game of the Year contender. Mm-hmm. And, that's 30.
It's
like
30,
to me, it just kind of is what it is. I think when it comes to that, I'll be very interesting to see what Avowed does and what Indiana Jones does. I think both those are going to hit 60. And then of course, like whether or not they have like another Forza or whatever, I think, but that could even things out. But again, I can understand why some people are upset, but like for me, I never, and this is somebody who's been perpetually disappointed with Xbox this entire year. That's not a big deal to me. I mean, the game could be amazing. I don't personally, and I never expected 60 on that game. Like everything we saw was letterboxed, and I'm like, all the letterboxed games.
Do you think the Xbox Series X can run Starfield at 60?
I think it probably could do 40 to 50. I don't know.
Okay, so why don't we have that right now?
I have no idea, to be honest with you.
You know that.
I have no idea. Like, listen, I don't know. To me, that engine that they're running is bad, right? I don't know what the run everything, and like I get it because they wanted to push visuals and stuff, but I think if it were something they could run decently on last gen, wouldn't they make it cross gen? Like to me, that would have seemed.
I bet
like
Indiana Jones. Crap, I agree with you, and I see a couple people in the chat saying Indiana Jones 30. I think Indiana Jones, especially being made by Machine Gun Games, right? I definitely
60.
Think that's 60 for.
I think Machine will hit 60.
That is going to be 60 all day. Not only that, but like id Software working with them or whatever.
Yeah.
A little bit they're using that thing.
I ain't holding my breath though, but I'll assume 60.
Yes, right. I would assume 60 as well. The other game that you said was Avowed. Honestly, crap, I would normally just say yes. I really, and I do. If you said I had a lean, I would put my money down on 60 frames for Avowed as well. But because of the nature of the game and the size they're saying the game may be, I don't know. Again, that's what Jay Barry said. Jay's like,
the game doesn't look graphically
No, it didn't.
demanding.
It didn't.
No, the thing is, people is missing is it's not saying that the target for the game should be 60 all the way. It should have an option, bro. Like I said, me personally, I don't have a problem playing at 30. I always said that before the generation, PS4, PS5. I don't have an issue playing at 30. But there's multiple options that I have that I can choose.
If you wanted to say options, I'm with you on that. Like, why not give the option to do something if it's possible? Like I said, I don't know that we'll ever get an update for that game on current hardware. Like, we might get if you do like next gen, like here's a free update, with 60 performance, because that's what they did on like the 1X or whatever, right? Like you got like later on with Hellblade, you got different options for that, right? And then I think didn't they do a Series X upgrade for that as well? Or one of those.
Anyway. Hellblade got a
do like like they upgrade. I could see that happening, like next gen or something. Them going if they're
the thing is though, crap. This game, when this game releases and getting it to the gamers' hands, is going to further the conversation of a pro console, because you're having the PS5 Pro, rumors speculating and that ramping up, and with this game not having those type of options with the game, that whole pro conversation is definitely going to ramp up.
It could be, but I think what might slow that down a little bit is if like GTA 6 is still 30 on the Pro, right? If it's still, then people will go, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Because nobody's going to badmouth and not get GTA because it's 30, right? Everybody's going to get it. Everybody's going to get it. It doesn't matter.
I hope it's 60. It's not only on the PS5 Pro. I hope it's 60 performance on the base, because
I don't think Rockstar cares about 60. To be honest with you,
I hope they do.
I hope they do too.
I think they haven't even improved. They didn't even put out a patch for Red Dead 2.
Yeah,
they could have probably easily done that. But they didn't. So it's like I honestly just think they care about putting.
I think Digital Foundry did like a hack on there on the files or something like that. Make it run at 60 on PlayStation 5, I believe. They tried to do it on the PS4 Pro and it was like chugging at 40 or something like that. But on the PS5, it was going for 60.
I'm going to play the devil's advocate real quick here, because I've always, like I said the last time, I've always had both consoles my entire life. But I think right now, I can't fully, trust or believe that any game coming from an Xbox studio right now, first-party studio, is going to give me the options. I just can't. And I don't know, some people might say...
I'm wondering what's going to go on with, the Coalition with Gears of War. That's what I'm worrying about. Because they're using Unreal Engine as well, no?
Yeah,
they are.
Yes, they are.
They are. And I don't know that... I mean, if the Unreal Engine 5 is having some of those issues, like I said, with Immortals of Avium, we saw some issues there with, especially whenever you hit the performance mode, there were a lot. It really struggled to hold it. Lords of the Fallen was the same, and I just don't know that. I want to be wrong, man, because I enjoy playing a variety of different games, but I just don't know that I can sit here and say like, for sure, Indiana Jones will be at 60. I don't know. I don't know that Gears 6 will it have both options. And it's
I don't
not
even think Gears 6 is a game this gen. They supposedly it just started production last year.
Yeah, it might not be. I'm just saying that based off the trend, right? So like the business that I work in, I like to look at trends for projects that are upcoming and kind of where we're at. Based off the trend that I've seen of the games that they have released, I don't see that trend going in a direction where I can say, okay, I trust that they're going to have, and they're going to give me as the consumer these options to make a choice of what I want to play on. Yeah, do I want to play 60? Do I want to play 30? And at some point, they have to change that.
Seeds, that's the thing we were saying earlier as well. So from now all the way till the end of this generation, at least, every single time Xbox presents something, two questions are going to come up. Is this game going to be 60 FPS? And is this game going to be coming to PlayStation 5? Those are the questions. And Xbox is kind of crazy. Xbox has done this to themselves. And I have a topic here, and it's just interesting to me. Like, we had a situation, and Crap mentioned it earlier as well. The Xbox One was known for what? The 720p box, right? That's what people remember it as. They're like, oh, it was 1080p versus 720p. And that's what it was for a while. Is this generation going to go down as Xbox Series consoles being known as the 30-frame box? You know, and that's going to be something that a lot of people are going to discuss as time goes on. I want to say shout out to Blessed Red. He was the one that said it when TC, when you said, or it was I can't remember if it was you or Seeds that said, another person had mentioned there is no performance parity requirements for Xbox Series S. That was Blessed Red. Mega Cloud says Digital Foundry were scratching their heads and wondering why games on the X came up short compared to the PS5, despite X having the power advantage.
It's a bug. That's what they always say. It's a bug.
Oh, it's a bug. Yeah, it's a bug. The tools aren't there yet either, too, Jay. Remember that. You have Stuart Stokes also says we're dogging on Xbox right now. Let's not let Nintendo get away with Paper Mario Remastered at 30 FPS when the OG was 60 FPS.
No Nintendo talk, man. We'll lose the
lose the whole crowd.
That's deflected. That's deflected, man.
Shout out to Lord Mexroy. Don't go after Stuart Stokes on that one. Now, shout out to Overdrive Prime. Appreciate you guys hitting that subscribe button. Guys, it means the world to me. I know we're a little over 12,000 subscribers on the channel, but it really does mean a lot to me. Blessed Red is back. He says, in a PS5, is it holding back my 4090? Weaker hardware doesn't hold back stronger hardware. I don't know what Goofy, I don't know. And he goes, there's multiple games that only have 60 FPS on Xbox. So I don't know. I don't know if he's trolling or he's that I think he's slow, yo. I don't know which one it is either, Jay.
Like this dude is comparing like a PS5 version of a PC game, totally different developer, and they have a whole developer studio to craft and mold the PC version of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a different ballpark with having a Series S and an X. And we're not seeing it's third party. We're seeing that stuff, but first party we're not. We're not seeing a first party game that is 60 frames or if whatever frame rate the Series S, the base console, especially that's the biggest one or the largest install base, whatever that can do. The Series X is going to have to do the same thing as far as when it comes to performance.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's what we've seen from a first party. That's why I said Xbox has that parity, because I'm not seeing. Name me a game that is first party that has different frame rates.
Yeah,
you know what I mean when it comes to it. Starfield doesn't. Starfield, both of them motherfuckers is 30 frames per second. Redfall, when it launched, both of them was 30 frames per second. This game, 30 frames per second.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
That is what it comes down to, Jay.
It don't take rocket science, man.
It really doesn't. That's the thing. I agree with you. Shout out to Lotus Esprit, by the way, or Spirit. I do want to say, Lotus, thank you so much for that super chat. I really, really appreciate that. Don't get that a lot on the channel, and I appreciate it. A lot of time and work goes into it. I can't say thank you enough. So shout out to Lotus for that outstanding super chat. Thank you. Warawana says it's letterbox, so Microsoft can sell ad spaces on the sides. Yeah, that's the other thing, crap, you had mentioned. Jesus. It's going to have the same thing that the Order 1886 had, and you said... the letterboxing.
I'm not a fan of that on any game.
Yeah, that's not a good look.
Yeah.
But
they do that, you know. But you can do but the thing is, right, like, what the developers were saying about that game is almost exactly echoing what the developers said about the Order 1886. I remember them saying 24 frames per second like a movie and all that same stuff with the letterboxing and things. It's almost exactly the same thing that they said. So, you know, I mean, it kind of is what it is. The game could be great. Like, I don't know. I'm not going to, I hope it is, man. I hope it's awesome, man. My Xbox could use a win there, you know, a really good game. They've got some stuff this year, so maybe by the end of the year, a lot of questions are answered, man. Who knows? Maybe they come out with, Avowed and Indiana Jones and Forza Horizon, and they're all 60 frames.
Avowed is this year?
Yeah, it's this year. Yeah,
okay.
Fall holiday this year. Absolutely. I do want to say shout out to Jason Edwards as well. Thank you for subscribing. Brian E says the idea that parity with the Series S is holding Xbox back is one thing. But pitching another thought. What if Satya's got game development on a shoestring budget due to the 75 plus billion ABK acquisition? I don't know if those
maybe
two...
don't let them buy Activision.
Right.
I guess.
I don't think those are tied together.
Look, I've said this a long time. So Microsoft has, now that they have Activision, they've got all these multiplats that are like the biggest names in the industry. You got Call of Duty Mobile, Warzone, Overwatch, Candy Crush, you got Minecraft, you've got Elder Scrolls Online, Fallout 76, World of Warcraft. You got all these huge games that are everywhere, but you need to put Pentiment and Grounded on PlayStation to keep the lights on.
Yeah.
Like that never made any sense to me whatsoever. Those games aren't going to do anything. And even the one that might do something, like, you know, you read about it, like let's say Sea of Thieves sells 5 million copies on PlayStation.
Right.
That's $200 million, right?
Yep.
That's not clear to Microsoft. That $200 million would be, you know, then you give Sony their 30%. Then you remove the cost that it took for the port studio to port it. Then you remove the cost for the advertising. So Microsoft maybe gets, you know, 70 million. That's like 0.01% improvement in your financials. It's not anything. That's the problem here, right? Like the stuff that they picked to move. And look, Pentiment ain't going to sell anything because that game is boring.
Pentiment's not moving the needle at all. Crap. But going back to Sea of Thieves.
Hi-Fi Rush is great, but it's like...
I don't think Sea of Thieves either is going to move the needle.
Like Hi-Fi Rush is great, but it's a niche game. Like it's a rhythm game, right? Like you're just not going to get 10 million sales on that. I don't care where you put it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like that's the main thing. Like you're like the stuff that they picked. And even if they were to go, okay, well, let's put Halo or Gears. Like, you're telling me people couldn't have played Halo or Gears over the past decade?
No, crap.
Like they could have played that anywhere. Get out of here.
So my point. So what's the end game then, crap? Why if those 4 games were not great picks, which I think you just proved a good case at least. So what's the end game in doing that?
There's 2 things I could think of. Maybe they were trying to see if they would sell well, or it's like I'll show you that they won't do well, so we might as well stop it. Maybe somebody's like, okay, I'll bend. Maybe it's coming from the higher ups, and they're like, we'll put 4 games on, and I'll show you that nobody's interested in these games outside of Xbox, and that stops. There's a couple different ways that could go. I personally think that they're trying to reduce. My opinion on the Xbox is they're trying to reduce the Xbox itself, so that when they start a new generation, it sells so piss poor that it's not going to be a big deal when they stop it, right? Like, you know, you're talking Wii U. Like right now, you've got 24 million Xboxes sold. You know, that might put up a little bit of a fuss.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know, you start next gen off, and it's such a shit prospect right out of the gate because you're putting stuff on PlayStation and Nintendo that hardly anybody's going to buy it. And then at that point, you cut your losses and just go full third party. And like that could be a thing that they're trying to do too. Remember how games with the gold got so bad that people were begging them to stop it?
Yeah. Yes.
Like, why couldn't you do the same thing with Xbox consoles, right? You got people literally laughing at Xbox under every post. There is not a single positive thing going on. Like, you can't get any kind of positive Xbox.
I know this will make your ears. This will make your ears bleed. But a lot of people that I follow on X now, you know, formerly Twitter, that are huge Xbox fans, they're like, "Oh, I'm building my new PC." So everything that Microsoft has been telling them to do, not buy consoles. You know, play your games on PC. Well, listen, with time, like you said, with time, people will start to do that, right? I mean, it's like they don't want you to buy the console. They're not. And I mean, it's tracking millions behind the Xbox One, which is seemingly their worst generation. So that kind of brings me into part 2 here. Like I said, and if you guys want to continue talking on the subject, we can. But I did want to bring it up. It was a news article. Then someone brought it up and said, well, is he the savior? Or is he actually like, you know, the Grim Reaper of it? Like Phil's been in office now for 10 years. I'll start with Jay because I know crap's going to sound off. Jay, what do you think? Well, Jay, crap, I know you got a monologue for this one. Jay, what do you think of Phil Spencer's tenure as Xbox boss? And we'll go through the panel and then I'm going to move on to another subject. I just want to hear because seemingly, especially with what Crap just said in the 2 plans of attack with having those 4, which someone corrected me, 5 games on PlayStation, like it's the beginning of the end.
Yeah, convenient how they left out As Dusk Falls, which they own the IP. Right,
exactly. So shout out to
I mean, they didn't own the studio, but they completely own the IP. And that game got a physical version on PlayStation, but not Xbox.
As it should.
Right. So Jay, what do you think of what do you think of Phil's tenure so far?
Like Ghostwire Tokyo too. That got a physical release on PlayStation, but not Xbox.
Yes.
Yeah, crazy.
As it should. This is where we buy games over here. Crap, you gotta understand that.
Man, I got 1,400 games installed on my Xbox right now.
They need more games. Yeah, but they need more
you're an anomaly.
Yes.
But what I think about Phil, I'm 50-50, man, because half of me is like I feel like perception wise, he did a great job to make Xbox stay relevant, especially with the Xbox One era. But gamer wise, I feel like he's a complete failure. Like, there's nothing that he has done that made me personally was like, okay, I need to get an Xbox. I feel like since Phil Spencer came, he has done everything to dismiss the Xbox. There's no real incentive for you to go out there and play any of these games on Xbox. You know what I mean? It's not even like even with PlayStation, right? You might have, you know, the games going to PC or, multi-platform games, but there's always going to be some type of incentive, you know, whether it's small or, you know, however people want to think of it. There's some type of incentive to attract you to like, okay, I'll get the PlayStation version because you have this here that you don't have this anywhere else. Xbox hasn't done any of that with their own games, with anything. And I just feel like since Phil Spencer been there, a lot of things that he has said has just been walking contradictions, lies. Where, Xbox One, I've bought 3 Xbox Ones due to listening to what Phil was saying and, the promises with Xbox. When I got to what was the slim Xbox before the X came out, the white one? When I got there, that's when I tapped out. I was like, hold up, man. I'm out here buying more Xboxes than PlayStations due to what this dude is saying. But he ain't deliver on not one thing that he's saying. You know, when you have E3, he's talking about exclusive, big blockbuster games and all that stuff. Not delivering on that stuff. You know, this console generation, this is the first time where I'm not even like, it's not even like a thought where I'm like, you know what? Maybe let me go to GameStop or Best Buy and buy me an Xbox. This whole generation, I haven't even thought about it. I'm just like, I don't need it. What I need an Xbox for? You know what I mean? Like, that's how bad I feel like he has put the brand Xbox as for gamers. Yeah. But the perception of Xbox, you know, things like customer customer friendly, with Game Pass, a lot of people excuse a lot of things that Xbox have done just due to Game Pass. I feel like that perception or that type of image that he has, he did a good job there, but it's just the delivering of the games or even some of the things that he has promised is not there. It's not there. And I feel like overall, I don't think he's a good fit for Xbox as far as how I will want Xbox or even the core fan base will want Xbox. That's why you see everybody is such in a tizzy when it comes to Xbox. It's because the core fan base, you're not delivering on what they actually want, from what I'm seeing. But
no, Jay, what letter grade would you give him then?
I'll give him like a C-.
Okay. And the one thing that you said that's interesting is, and I've seen it more and more, and I know a lot of people don't like to hear it, but it in a sense, it drove it. Listen, Xbox is going to be a major third-party publisher. Maybe, if it's not already, will be one of the largest third-party publisher. Xbox is not going away.
Any boob could have spent $100 billion and been a major third-party publisher. Right. Any boob. Man, I could have went up to Satya and been like, hey, bro, hook me up with $100 billion. I'm going to make Xbox successful third-party publisher. And then I could have done the same damn thing. I think it would have taken somebody with some know-how and some skill to save Xbox and actually act like they give a damn. Because like I said, they've got enough stuff, and nobody was expecting Activision games to be exclusive ever. I expected the Activision stuff to help pay for the other stuff to be exclusive, right? Yeah. Like when he said flat out, buying ZeniMax was about getting exclusives where Game Pass exists. Yeah. Right? Said that. He flat out said that. There's quotes all over. He said that. Right? So the fact of the matter is, like, they've had Obsidian for 4 or 5 years, and they have no exclusives for Xbox, because they ported Pentiment and Grounded to PlayStation and Nintendo. Yeah. So, right, it's like these companies that he bought to give exclusives to Xbox gamers, because we suffered the longest time, and we never got that day in the sun. It's really kind of sad. Like, if you want to see how sad it is, man, get Tim Dog on here one day. He'll tell you.
He was on 2 weeks ago.
Oh yeah, like that. Like I talk to Tim Dog all the time, man. Yeah. The guy would eat lunch and with they made you feel like you're part of something special, and it's us against the world type mentality, right? And then they literally just do not have a problem throwing you under the bus. It happened to me. Tim was like, dude, I see what happened in 2016. For those that don't know, right? Quantum Break. They advertised that as exclusive for 3 years. They advertised that exclusive 3 weeks prior to launch. Phil's like, we're going to put it on PC day and date. and I said I canceled my pre-order on Twitter. That became a big thing. Like realistically, I woke up the next day at thousands of notifications where people were making fun of me. There was videos, 30, 40 videos. I was in IGN and all, like everybody was like, can you imagine? Like seriously. And people didn't get it. But if you can look at the slide from the correlation between when Microsoft put their games on PC and the decline in their hardware sales, right? It matches up perfectly, because what happens is, and this is why I warn PlayStation fans, they'll go, well, it's not day and date. But, I wouldn't give them an inch as far as I'm concerned, because that's when you can, I'm just warning you. But when that happened to Xbox, right? Because let's be honest here, what did Quantum Break do on PC? Nothing. What did Halo do on PC? Nothing. What did Gears of War do on PC? Nothing. What did Killer Instinct do on PC? Nothing. What are these games doing on PC? They're doing nothing. There's very few that break through, right? So I agree. Starfield, Sea of Thieves makes sense on PC, but I can tell you right now, Hellblade 2 isn't going to do anything on PC. Indiana Jones isn't going to do anything on PC.
I disagree with that crap. I think Hellblade 2 is going to do a lot for PC.
I don't think it's going to do anything. Look up the sales of the first one.
Yeah, I kind of tend to agree.
I promise you the PC version is going to sell more than Xbox, especially.
Oh, that's not what
I never said it wouldn't sell more, but it's like it's not going to sell a bunch of millions of copies or anything.
Yeah, it probably isn't going to be a blockbuster, like insane amount of sales.
Hellblade itself is not going to be a blockbuster sell. The first one wasn't. It's just too much of a specific niche type game. I mean, the conversation that is going to come from that game is going to be more like the serious side with like mental health and schizophrenia and things like that.
That's what I'm saying. It's not going to like that game being an Xbox exclusive. Like a true exclusive, is it going to really? I mean, it wasn't. They wouldn't have saved that much. Same thing with like Quantum Break and the other games that I'm mentioning, right? Like those games not being on PC weren't going to hurt them, because nobody on PC is going to buy them anyway. You look at the games that people on PC are playing; they're 10, 11-year-old games. They'll play something new like Power World for 3 weeks, and then they're back on Counter-Strike Go and whatever the hell else they play. You know what I mean? Like you can look at the top 10; it's the same stuff.
I think majority of the people that play Hellblade will be on PC though, for sure. 100%.
They could be. I mean, I'm going to play it on Xbox, but I mean, I think that they'll probably come out and say, 4 million people played it or whatever. I don't think they'll ever give a.
Yeah, they never do. It's
they're not going to say how many it sold or anything.
25 million people stop by, press the A button, shut it off. I mean, they never say anything that's a valuable numerics or statistics. It's always just something, I mean, like that's why when people are like 25 million people played Forza Horizon 5, great. And what did they say? 10 million people or something, 15 million people stopped by to play Hi-Fi Rush. Meanwhile, majority of people, when you look at the percentages for the achievements, didn't even get to the second or third boss.
Yeah, so, the only thing I can find on Hellblade is 6.3 million people played it across all platforms. Yeah, that was the announcement that they gave. But I think that game was on. Wasn't it given away for free by PlayStation at one point, and maybe Xbox gave it away. Like, I mean, players. I don't think that game isn't like a huge deal. So, I think that you have to have an incentive for people to buy your hardware.
Well, that's
right?
it.
Like if you don't.
But
if you don't have an incentive for people to buy your hardware, they won't buy it.
But crap, all of these moves, right? The performance not being there in their major titles, 4 or 5 games going over to PlayStation, the decline in sales. It seems like they're moving closer and closer to wanting to leave the space. Now, I know we're going to talk about the handheld in a second. Seeds, real quick, I won't harp on this subject. But Seeds, when I first met you on Twitter, I thought that your channel and the way that you kind of promoted things, I thought you were more Xbox centric, and you may still be. But Seeds, what did you think of Phil over the past? Because again, there's articles that have been written on him, and then there was also that opinion piece about Phil and his 10 years in charge of Xbox. Just wondering what you thought of the past 10 years and how you thought from day one in 2014 to where we are here in 24.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of been kind of in the middle and not really engaging too much in like the console war stuff. Admittedly, I play more PlayStation than I do Xbox. But growing up, I did play more Xbox because that's where all my buddies were. Yep. When I was in the military, stuff like that. So, I'm not going to pretend to know what it's like to run Xbox. I guess I'll show some humility in I don't know what I would do in that position. I don't think most people would know what they would do in that position. I will say this though. I think that there seems to be, from a business perspective, a lack of oversight from understanding what the studios are doing and what their output is in order to get games out the door and in order to get games out the door at a quality. The other thing I think that Phil has lacked, at least just from the outside looking in, from what we have gotten as consumers, the other thing that I think he has lacked at doing is setting a standard. I think when you look, the one thing that I look at whenever I see PlayStation games from my own experience is that there seems to be a standard there. And that standard is, at least for this generation, is having that 30 FPS option and a 60 FPS option for your games.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think that there has been a set standard over at Xbox Game Studios of, if your game does not reach this threshold, it won't be released. It won't, and here's the targets that you have to hit.
They give them creative freedom. They've mentioned that a few times.
But at some point, you have to crack down on creative freedom in order to. You can have creative freedom all day long, but creative freedom, to a certain extent, if it's not generating a revenue stream, especially to support the fact that you spent $125 billion. Creative freedom is cool and all, but creative freedom needs to turn into money. And at some point, they have to be able to crack down on that. And I don't think that has happened. And if I were to give him a grade, I'd probably say in the C range. And the reason for that is, I think that he came in at a pivotal time to where he was basically saying, "Hey, give me a chance to try to turn this around." And I think that they had a lot of good ideas, but they were early to market before the market was really ready to acquire it, such as having your Xbox kind of run your entire home theater ecosystem, whereas now on a TV, we can do all that. And so I'm not going to sit here and act like he's done everything bad, but I definitely think maybe they allowed too much creative freedom to where that creative freedom did not turn into revenue. And the fact that they are now, I disagree on the fact, or on the point, and maybe I misheard it, but going to PC is a bad thing. I actually think going to PC for Xbox is not only a good thing, but it's out of necessity in order to create revenue streams.
They used to sell games. How can it be a good thing? They used to sell games in the 360 era.
That's the thing, though. See, so what you're saying that it's a good thing. That's kind of Monday morning quarterback. It's a good thing now. It's because they pivoted, and when they did, I like what PlayStation's doing. I like that they have a 12 or 24 month window between. Listen, again, I say this all the time on the show, but there's some new people that are here. Like, at the end of the day, Seeds, if you come to my restaurant and you love the dish that I make, you've got to pay the price, and you have to wait in line, or you have to make a reservation, or you don't get the dish. And that's just business, right? So PlayStation says, here's our IP. We want to sell headsets, controllers, different panels, 3 different types of PS5s, the original, the Slim, and then the Pro. We want to sell you all of these other money-making hardware items. You're going to have to buy the console if you want to play the game. If you do want to play our game, Seeds, right, you can on PC in 12 to 18 to 24 months. And if you're willing to wait, that's fine.
But that's the difference. You made that one word makes up everything. Hardware. Sony is very good at hardware. What is Microsoft very good at? What have they made?
Software, IP. I get that. Absolutely.
Software.
Absolutely.
So the reason that I say that they're doing this, and why they did do this, could it have been the right move or the wrong move? We'll never know. It's in the history. But I think all along, since that transition occurred and they started to put their games on PC, it was at a necessity and a desire to take every part of their business into the realm of software. We want to put it everywhere and give everyone access to this, because in the end, that's how we want to try to make more money, because that's what we've done with our software.
So what that does, though, is it does enhance your capabilities of selling a lot more software out there, but it also, it's cut your nose off to save your face. You've also basically ruined the Xbox platform, not Xbox brand, but the Xbox platform has
100%.
taken a hit. And don't get me wrong. But Microsoft's always been in the software business. So my question is, why have they been tap dancing in the hardware business for 24 years? If that's the case, they knew what they were better at back in the day. But like Crap said, in the 360 era, they sold games, so they were making money on the hardware. They were making money on the software. And they were like, hey, we can do this. But then when they had that one hiccup in the Xbox One era where they fell behind, and they fell behind, but they were doing a good job of coming back up. They decided to go day and date. Once you went day and date, you made the box. I wouldn't use it, not in 2016, but it started the irrelevance of the actual hardware. I think what happens is when you start to see that you are sliding down and you're starting to go in the wrong direction, what do people do? They get, I don't want to say desperate, but they make moves in order to forecast where the future is. And I think that Microsoft, when they looked at their business of Xbox, I don't think, even at that time, I don't think that they not only cared about the hardware, I think that they were looking at where the future was going to go and the future that they wanted to take in terms of their business strategy and their business structure was to take these games. Hey, we're selling a lot, but hardware is not necessarily our deal. We want to take these games and give them to more people to try and make more money. Mm-hmm. You don't become a $3 trillion company without a desire to try and make more money any way that you possibly can. I mean, their overall value is more than most countries combined. So I think that we're going to go down this path regardless. I think this has been the plan all along. You listen to Satya Nadella talk. This is our strategy. I'm paraphrasing, but this is our strategy, and buying ABK basically furthered or expedited that strategy. I think when you look at this and they started to take their games and put it on PC, I think that was the start of them implementing this strategy all the way back then. Well,
I think that was the start.
If that's what you think Inception was, then
I think they panicked. They started they panicked because that's what they do.
I think they panicked.
They panicked halfway through this gen too. Panicked halfway through last gen. Panicked at the beginning of last gen. Talked to two different people who went to different E3s where they had broke bread with executives at Xbox, and they said they stopped making games literally stopped making games. Their first part is stopped making games in 2017 because nobody was buying them. And this lines up with what we know because Forza Motorsport was coming out on a 2-year cadence, and it took 6 years for them to get that next one out, and it wasn't even as put together as their ones that took them 2 years. We know that Halo Infinite, for instance, didn't get started right after Halo 5. So what was that team doing up until 2019? Because that's when they started development of Halo Infinite. 2019. People don't realize that. 2019 is when they started. What the hell were they doing for those previous years? It wasn't just, they basically added on a little bit to the engine, but they weren't doing anything pretty much from the release of Halo 5 in 2015 all the way up to 2019 when they started. We got a trailer for Halo Infinite to a game that didn't exist.
Crap, the
right?
same
And
thing.
we wonder why. And we wonder why it was in such a bad space. Look at it. They had no first party games. Sea of Thieves was bare bones. It had snakes, Mooch.
Snakes.
I want to push back on that a little bit.
Chickens.
I don't think that Microsoft. I wasn't there and heard that conversation that your friends had, but I don't see Microsoft just going out in a panic and pulling that trigger.
No one was buying their games though.
Exactly,
no one.
But I think that they were already working on that pivot to trying to put their games into more places to earn more money.
But nobody's buying their games now, even with the pivot on PC.
Well, you look at
outside of Starfield.
That was one of the games I was going to say. How many people did you have during the first week that paid extra money in order to play the game 5 days early?
Yeah, I mean that was one example, and that made sense to put that on PC, like I said. But how many people play a free Halo Infinite on PC? Next to nobody.
I don't know, but you're looking at it. I think that you're, from a business standpoint, you have to look at some of these other games when it comes to putting it on Steam. And now, I said this whenever I was on Gaz's podcast, I think that they are drip feeding these games over to PlayStation and eventually over to the Nintendo Switch and then who knows from there. I think they're drip feeding it. The reason that they started at 5 is they wanted to put it out there, not only see how it went, but to also be able to not disincentivize, but to start to lower fans' expectations a little bit, because they don't care about the hardware. They don't care about the hardware. They have made that abundantly clear that they do not care about the hardware in terms of selling mass amounts of Xbox. They know that they're not going to catch PlayStation. They know that they're not going to catch Nintendo. But where they can make a ton of money is by selling to these third-party high revenue streams, and that is over to PlayStation.
The problem is we're oversaturated with games, and these games might not even sell on the Nintendo platform.
Then you better make good games.
Nintendo people buy Nintendo games, and PlayStation gamers, they either play the stuff that we like, Call of Duty, FIFA, Madden, or they play PlayStation exclusives. Like, I don't see a big market for their games, and their games, like, you have to have super, super quality games, right? And it has to stand out more than anything. Like, that's why it never made sense to me. And the other thing that I kind of want to point out is, from a business perspective, you don't like hardware. So this is the part where I kind of come in at this from. On their console, that's where they have the most Game Pass subscriptions, right? You lose the console, you lose all your Game Pass subscriptions, right? That's a huge revenue stream, over $1 billion a month in Game Pass subscriptions, right? Also, you lose 100% of your digital sales of your first party, because you get 100% of that on your console. You also, on your console, you get 30% of every third-party game sold and 30% of every third-party microtransaction. So the Fortnite skins, you get 30% of that. You lose your hardware, you lose all of that. Right? And for what? So you get 70% of your game sales, and you put out 4 games a year on PlayStation and Nintendo? Like, that never added up to me, because those companies are never allowing Game Pass on their platform. And a lot of people that are subscribed to Game Pass will maybe play it on PC and console, but I can't see people just going, okay, you took away half my ability to play that on the console, so I'm okay with you. Like, I just would see mostly everybody would just cancel. There would be no reason for Game Pass. And I also think that Phil Spencer gets a D- in my opinion. Xbox One X was a great console, no software to back it up. Xbox Series X is a great console, no software really to back it up. Not only that, but they didn't have the force. Like, Phil Spencer is thinking 20 years ahead, where he needed to really be more short-sighted, because you have this great console that can do things that PlayStation can't, but you don't realize it if you're not selling a bunch of these platforms, that developers aren't going to mess with it and take advantage of it.
That's a good point.
Right? The 360 got the best version of every game. Why? Because they sold 25 million more 360s in the US than PS3s were sold. So developers wanted to take advantage of the Xbox 360. All the games ran better, looked better, played better. Call of Duty was great. You bought DLC for GTA 4. You got that a year.
That was also because it was easier to develop on the 360.
It was, and it's but it's easy to develop on the Series X. Like, they say, it's like super easy.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, listen, but nobody's going to do that. They're going to develop for the PlayStation 5 because there's 60 million of them in the wild and only 23 million Xboxes. Right? It makes sense, because you want to market to the place that's going to give you the best chance to sell more games, and that's PlayStation. But that's Microsoft's fault. Phil Spencer does not get a free pass. Right? No. If he couldn't do the job, don't do the job. I don't know anybody, 10 years, $100 billion, took him from third place to third place. How the fuck do you still have a job after that? How? If that would have been any of us at any job, we're gone. And here's the thing. Even if you lose him, they're going to replace him with Phil Spencer Jr., Sarah Bond, or whoever. Right? It's really a shit show in Microsoft right now, from the top down. Nadella, he's not a person that, he's not a consumer first person, right? Look at the parallels. I started doing the parallels to Xbox and Windows Phone, and they're quite similar. Windows Phone, which I loved Windows Phone. I had one, right? They spent billions of dollars, bought Nokia, had all these exclusive apps and games on Windows Phone, right? Great. Then what they started to do was put those apps and games everywhere. And then 2 years later, they shut down Windows Phone after they spent billions of dollars. I thought they're in it for the long haul. People were saying they're in it for the long haul. They just spent billions of dollars. What do people say about Xbox right now? They just spent billions of dollars. They're in it for the long haul. I think they could be in it the long haul for the game side of things, but they sure as shit don't care about the hardware. And here's the problem. When you look at, like I said earlier, when you look at the best time in gaming, is when each of the consoles had a good piece of the pie. We got better games, competition, That was when everything was kind of flying, and now it's like, the complete opposite of that. Phil Spencer, they panic. They go out and go, okay, well, what they really needed to do was wait 5 or 6 years of constant exclusives. Like look at PlayStation, right? Did PlayStation panic when they were getting shit on with the PS3 and they were falling behind? What did they do? They go, okay, let's double down on our exclusive games.
That's right, get the games.
And make it so people want to buy and have to buy our platform to play our games. That's what they did. What Microsoft did was the exact opposite. And what people know, and I get it. Like, I don't like PC gaming. I don't, and I never will. You know that, Mooch. And
Absolutely.
I'll never play on a PC.
I know you don't. No.
But there's a difference.
Get them PC gamers.
Yeah, exactly. But there's a difference in a lot of games, especially like multiplayer, like that people on PC like versus what people on console like, right? Like they like Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike has never done shit on console, right? It just never has. Halo 5, for instance, that game is made specifically for console. That's why it's never come to PC, because they would never play it anyway. Right. So what you do is you have these developers that are kind of doing this mid thing. That's why Halo 5 or Gears 5 stunk. Right. They made it so it could be more PC centric, so it could appeal to them, and they didn't care. Like 3,000 people.
They gonna clip that.
Well, 15,000 people played it or whatever on Steam. Right. Like that's not a big number, and then they didn't care about it. Right. Like these games were the reason that people bought Xbox. Gears of War, believe it or not, used to be a game that sold 10 million copies. Halo, 13, 15 million copies, right? Those are games that used to sell well, but they start losing that luster once you start putting them in other places. And then I wouldn't
blame PC per se. I get where you're coming from. I'm not saying I totally disagree with you, but I blame Game Pass. I think Game Pass
is a mistake too.
The structure of Gears, because Gears 4 to 5, huge difference as far as how they put that game.
Well, here's the thing. Game Pass was a panic move too. Right, so you panic, you put your stuff on PC already, it devalues your hardware. Right, people could just go. Let's just be honest. The average PC is worse than an Xbox Series X according to Steam's own numbers. So people are playing these games on a potato, and then you have where you've created this subsect of gamers who refuse to buy anything. And I've seen it myself. People that haven't bought an Xbox game or any games in 6 years. Right, they're like, I play what comes on Game Pass, and I'm like, seriously, that's it? Yep. That's all. My own friend, Greg. Mooch, he hasn't bought a game in years.
Crap. Again, this goes back to what we were saying, right? They've said you don't need to buy a console. Fine. Now they're saying you don't need to buy the games. Just do Game Pass. Listen, I don't blame the consumer one bit. I don't blame Graves at all.
It's a great deal, but at what cost?
The cost was the console.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the problem here. Everything that they said to do, the consumer did, right? And that's what we did. We're like, oh, that's a good deal. So you subscribe to it.
They said, don't buy it.
Right? Well,
now he's talking about Gen Zers and stuff. Like, you think Gen Z is always going to want to play on a little 3-inch phone?
No.
What happens when they're going to grow up? They're going to want to play a big experience, man. Like, my kids don't want to play on they might while they're out, but then when they're home, they're playing on a console.
Yes, Gen Zers are going to get older, and when they get older, and they're not running, they're going to come home from work like all of us. We're not running around. We're going to sit on a couch and you have a TV on the wall, and that's what you're going to play on. And the thing is as PC gaming is growing exponentially, that's hardware. So how can you say consoles are going away? That's hardware. One is one where you have to be a little bit more in the know about, and the other one you just take out of the box, plug it in, and play. And there's always I believe, for at least a while, never speak in absolutes, but for at least a foreseeable future, as Sony believes, because the PS6 is definitely in the works, a console will be here for quite some time.
Well, Mooch, I can tell you this real quick, too. Just real quick. I know other people want to talk, but speaking of the things that Phil did that are just mistakes, right? A mistake that he made early in this generation that we're in now is, and this was in court documents, they bet heavy on cloud gaming. Right? They instead of having Xbox Series X's for sale, they put them in their cloud gaming blades. Right? At the cost of having consoles, they could have probably sold 5 to 7 more million units if they would have put those up for sale. We're in the middle of a pandemic. You didn't notice that they couldn't give away Stadia at that time, but yet, hey, let's double down on cloud gaming. And now, you know what? They divested in cloud gaming. Yes. They gave away their entire rights to their games in the EU to Ubisoft because they said it's too expensive and people aren't using it.
Right.
Everybody kept thinking that was the next logical step, but it's unlike music or movies. Like in the future, these games aren't going to be cheaper to make, and you think people are going to pay $70 to $100 for a game that they can only stream?
No.
That's never going to happen.
No.
It's never going to happen.
Not anytime soon.
It's just not.
No.
Yo, Xbox is behind when it comes to cloud streaming too. On PlayStation, you can stream 4K.
Because they gave up on it because nobody was using it. Look at this on Live, Gaikai, PS Now, xCloud, Luna, Stadia. They've all failed.
Yeah, they're gone.
I told Mooch that Stadia would fail within 2 years.
It did. Well, like you said, they failed in 2 years. And like you said, xCloud's hiding behind a $15 or $16.99 a month paywall.
Yeah, they don't even really report xCloud stuff, right? It's just like that's part of Game Pass, right? And the thing is, it didn't grow. They keep talking about these 2 billion people, right? But it doesn't grow the industry. It's already people. The people using it were already people that were playing via console or PC, but they just used it here or there, maybe when they had a minute and they weren't around their console or PC, right? So that's not growing anything either. There is no 2 billion people that these people keep talking about, right? It's nonsense. And you don't think I'm lying? Look at what the original plan was for Xbox One X. They thought they were going to sell 200 million or 500 million consoles, right? Yeah. Like they always have this weird thing where they're like, we could be in front of this many things, and then it never happens. Right? Like it just never happens. It's the panic. It's the wrong moves. He's made one wrong move after another. And there is no way that anybody would keep a job that long that messed up that many times. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Phil does do too much talking. He gotta show up, man. It's not about just the talk and it's the actions. You know, that's why I look at with him.
The thing is after 10 years, he's got so much contradiction and lies. It's not just, things change. No, it's a lie. It's just lies after lies. You know, we got to set better expectations for hardware. We don't want them thinking games are going here, there, or there. Oh, right. Well, we don't know what's coming or going at this point, right?
In my opinion, the kind of funny interview that he did was a wash. Like, it was a waste of time because everything you said there, now when you brought up this whole new pivot, is just like, You went there to hype up Xbox gamers, like, hey, we're not going away, we're gonna do better. But then the Xbox gamers that you want to speak to with that kind of funny interview, you're pivoting away from that core audience. You know what I mean? It's just weird to me.
They don't care about me. They don't care about what. And which is weird, right? They're like Gen Z, and I'm technically Gen Z, but it's like, they should be caring about what I do. You know why? Because I have 1,400 digital games installed and another 250 physical games.
You're not Gen Z. You're a millennial.
No, I don't think you're a crap. No, Gen Z caps out, I think, at 27 years of age right now, or 27.
Like, okay, millennial. Okay, so anyway, it's like, and then I have another 350 movies on their movie. You know what I'm saying? It's like the ones that are spending the money are people like me. You know what I'm saying? It's not the person on the phone playing a free block game or whatever for 20 minutes. That's not the future of game. It's not. It's not the future of gaming. They're going to want to grow. Those kids grow up and they're going to want to play big experiences.
That's the thing. And the one thing that made a lot of sense was, as we welcome BRAP, I'm glad you were able to make the end of the show. I know you had a busy night tonight.
Hey, Mooch, see how that works, man? Mooch, I'm not going to make it tonight. Mooch, I'm going to run late.
He goes, buddy, I got news for you. He goes, there's no way in hell I'm making it tonight. He goes, next week will be late, but not tonight. I said, you sure? And he goes, yeah, absolutely, 100%, can't make it. I knew BRAP at that point was a lock-in for the show. I will say this much, though. Shout out real quick to Lotus Spirit again for becoming a channel member. I really appreciate it. Flaffy1101 says, I'm just waiting for Xbox to stop making consoles so we can have all these Xbox games run at 60 FPS minimum. They'll just be the next Sega Dreamcast. And that's kind of like some of the things that we're talking about right now, Flaffy. That's actually not a bad point. Because
you don't want that. I don't think people realize that.
No, you don't want that. But that's where they're heading. But that's where they're heading, and we don't want that.
Yeah, that's exactly like you think. Oh man, that'd be great. But trust me, when I say you don't want that, like the competition, didn't you hear what I said earlier? 360, PS3, both had an equal slice of the pie. Microsoft did achievements, so Sony did trophies. Microsoft did party chat, so Sony did party chat. Sony gave away free games with PlayStation Plus, so Microsoft was forced to do that. You back in, one created Gears, one created Uncharted.
Yeah.
You want that back and forth. Because otherwise,
I agree.
You get a Madden situation, right? Where you get a roster update and that's it, and that's not good enough, right? Come on.
Hey, Mooch,
Yeah, go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, we'll chime in because Crap's talking about something like 3 billion gamers or something that Phil keeps like that magic number he's chasing. I think it's important to break down. I think a lot of people, when they hear 3.2 billion, they're like, oh, more gamers, like that's great, and Phil's going to grow the market. The reality is there's only a finite group of consumers that want to play video games. We have the technology to do cloud gaming. We have mobile platforms. We have gaming on the go. We have crossplay. We have cross progression. Yeah. Everything that Phil's talking about doing already exists. And so like he doesn't. What he's trying to figure out is how do I get more people into gaming? And he thinks, well, if I bring my games to other platforms, then maybe it's going to attract new gamers. Maybe. I'm not saying it's going to be net zero. I'm sure he'll attract some. I just don't think it's going to be as big as some people think that it's going to be. I don't think there's going to be another 200, 300 million gamers all of a sudden that just fall out of the sky. Because again, there's a finite group of people that play video games. And understand market stratification in the gaming industry. This stratified market. We talked about this on Base Radio K podcast last night.
Oh, what a plug.
Yes, it goes live every 9 p.m. Live every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we had Detective Seeds on last night. That's right. So, great show, by the way. Everyone should check it out. And then when you look at, like, if you break down the market segmentation, too, like, if you just look at the markets, right? 3.2 billion gamers worldwide. Well, it's predicted to be 3.3 by the end of this year. Asia. The Asian market has the highest number of gamers at 1.48 billion, followed by Europe with 750 million, and then the US. I think the US falls like right after that. So here's the thing: the Asian market and the type of games they play are different than what we play here in the US.
Yes,
you don't believe me? Call of Duty's not even a thing in Asia, in China, in Korea, South Korea, in Japan. Just look at Japan. Like, they don't really buy consoles anymore. They play handheld mobile devices.
That's right.
That's what they do. So, what if Phil's saying all this stuff? I'm like, Phil, but what are you guys doing from a regional standpoint? When I mean regional, like, what are you doing, like, in the Asian market to expand your market share? Because as far as I know, and I could be wrong, I don't hear him talking about partnerships that they're making. I know they're trying to make inroads in Japan. But like bringing Halo to Japan isn't going to move the needle for Xbox.
No.
Bringing Forza Horizon is not. Hellblade's not going to move the needle for Japan, the Japanese,
and getting games,
or the
and
Chinese
I understand,
market.
And I know the Xbox fans don't like to hear this, but you know what else won't move the needle for them in Japan is getting these third-party deals that have already been on Nintendo and PlayStation for years. Now it's on Xbox. Like you say, oh well, they have Persona.
You know what the problem is, though, and this is something that I heard from multiple people that was confirmed. Phil Spencer turned down the chance to have Genshin Impact on Xbox.
Oh Jesus!
He didn't like the idea of a scantily clad.
But see, this is because I think Phil's looking at it from and I could be wrong, but I think he's looking at the lens for, like looking at it from the lens of a Westerner or somebody living in the U.S. Like in the Asian markets, like that's not even like that's fine. Like that's not even a thing. It's not an issue. And the other thing too is like we don't. And I could be wrong, but we don't hear them talking about these incubation programs like you do with Sony, right? Sony is an example. The China Hero Project. Look at Stellar Blade. That came out of Korea with Shift Up. They had the India Hero Project, and Sony does with PlayStation, that they're trying to foster, nurture relationships with developers in India. They're making inroads, and I say Sony PlayStation. They're making inroads in Africa. I mean, like that's how you grow your market share and you reach those 3 billion gamers, because you need to understand that those markets have vastly different tastes than we do in the US. The problem is a lot of content creators, a lot of, what I call the engagement merchants, they don't look at this stuff. They look at it from a US only lens. Oh, it's going to be great. You can play Halo everywhere. Well, that's fine here in the US. But that doesn't vibe in Asia and China. And China has their own issues too. The Chinese government is very stringent the type of
so this is the
access
thing, BRAP,
to content and video games.
We were talking about this before you joined, and that's why they've made their pivot, right? So these things are all not working for them. So their thought was, we'll go PC, we'll go mobile, we'll go everywhere, and handheld. And that's why it kind of leads us to our next topic, guys.
But hey, Mooch, can I say another thing real quick just on this topic? So Phil Spencer, an executive who was with Xbox and then left, and then would have been briefly back with them before he left, before the deal went through. I'm not going to say names, but used to nickname Phil Xbox Pope. because he was always trying to apparently Phil had a big problem with the bathtub scene in Witcher 2 or Witcher 3. And
Why?
And this executive told Phil to lighten up, right?
Does this guy? Can I take a guess? Crap, who you're talking about?
You can take a guess.
Does his last name rhyme with Mabara?
It might rhyme with that. Okay, I'm not saying 100% for sure, but
okay.
Yeah, but I had also heard that Phil turned down the chance, things that he's missed out on and missed the mark with, turned down the chance to have Marvel games exclusive to Xbox.
Spider-Man.
And not just Spider-Man. They could have had and it would have been cheap to do so because at the time, there wasn't this huge quality thing. So he turned down that. He turned down Sunset Overdrive, which could have came out during the drought years. Also, Alan Wake 2. He didn't like Alan Wake, so they had the marketing or the publishing rights for 3 Alan Wake games. So he ended up just giving that back or tearing it up or whatever. You could have had Alan Wake 2 at a point, exclusive to Xbox, right?
Oh
and that's an award-winning game right there. You could have had Alan Wake, you could have had Sunset Overdrive 2, you could have had Genshin Impact, you could have had Marvel games. He turned down these things. He made so many mistakes. How can you be somebody at Xbox or Microsoft and go, how does this guy still have a job? I get it, he's making money, but again, he spent $100 billion and bought the biggest games, the biggest publishers. Of course you're going to make some money, right? But the moves that he's made has cost him so much money over the years. It's crazy to look at that and go, how does because the thing is, it isn't what Phil wants, it's what the gamers want, right?
Right.
And so like Genshin Impact, I've never played it, but it's a very popular game, right?
It's it's very popular. And actually, that's the kind of game, though. I mean, interrupt. That's the kind of game, though, that kind of fits the model, the thing that he's trying to achieve. You play shit on your mobile phone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On PC, on your console. And it's to hear that he turned that down, I'm like, what?
Yeah.
The thing is, just to play devil's advocate, though, did you think budgets came into it? Do you think all these things cost money? I don't know.
I don't. That in particular, I heard was because it's a scantily clad female.
Look, man, Phil. I don't doubt the coined the nickname Xbox Pope, only because when Phil speaks, if he philosophizes, he's always speaking about a utopian world in gaming, and he's very altruistic in his views, and I'm just Phil, stop with the philosophy lesson in the video game industry, and I think what happens is people listen to that, and I said this on BRAP yesterday. And I kind of think, I'm starting to believe it's kind of a distraction tactic, in the sense that he's always dangling that carrot, and you see it. You see the Xbox. I'm going to call them engagement merchants from now on, Mooch, because I really think that's what they are now.
Okay.
And I would like to name. I'm not going to name any names, Mooch. I'm not going to. I'll do that on my show.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, but you know who they are, Mooch. You know who I'm talking about. But they go out there, they blame the media. It's how is it here's the thing with the media. This happens every year with the Keeleys, right?
Yes.
The Keeleys. Don't look at the Keeleys. look at for crying out loud, look at GDC, the Game Developer Conference, the Game Developer Choice Awards.
Yeah.
That is by the game, that's by the industry. Look at DICE, by the industry. Microsoft's their own peers, their own peers in the gaming industry, okay, are selecting titles. They did nominate Starfield, so that's a good thing for them, for Xbox.
Absolutely.
But the other day, look at GDC. Spider-Man cleaned house. I mean, and that's not the media.
No,
it's not biased media. Those are their peers in the industry that are saying, hey, we think mostly, if you look at the nominations, the last couple of years, we think that Nintendo and Sony are making really great games. We're not only nominating them, but they're winning awards based on the voting by their peers in the industry, other developers. So that speaks volumes.
Yeah. So
are we going to say that the industry's biased now against Xbox? And only bring that up to kind of poke holes at that whole mindset of media bias, and that it's the media's fault why Xbox is
X.
Exactly, Xbox X, why the media's why Xbox is having issues. It's not the media, it's deliverables. And I think that when Phil talks about the future, I think people get so wrapped up that they forget about today. They forget about what deliverables Phil has given his consumer base today.
There's a lot between sports and games, right? Perhaps say, what have you done for me lately? That's what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, you don't spend $500 on a box for what might happen 10, 15 years down the road.
Crap, we used to say
that's crazy.
What Crap's saying too, again, as a sports reference, Crap, how many years do you get as a head coach before you have a winning championship?
Usually you get a few years. I mean, if you're not seeing things turn around, but it's like Phil is always like, well, what's 20 years from now going to look like? Well, Phil,
worry about
the
tomorrow.
way you're going. You're worry about the next 2 years before.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like I don't understand the thought process behind it.
People say Xbox did this to get ahead of the curve, right? And they wanted to be. They're always future thinking, but they made this pivot, right, going from Xbox One to Xbox Series X, making a full push onto Game Pass, right, and doing this whole thing with day and date in the past. They made this in a very, very, believe it or not, like time you look back, they did this fairly quickly. They could have kept with what was working, which is what Nintendo and Sony do right now. And then they could have pivoted. They already have seeds. You said this a while ago. You're like, Mooch, you got to remember, they're an IP, software first. They can pivot to software as a primary faster than any of the other two. Any of the other two. Because Sony needs the infrastructure. Nintendo needs the infrastructure. Microsoft has the infrastructure. It's in place. So they could have always pivoted. They chose to do this. I think it was a panic move. And I think between day and date and Game Pass, it really hurt them.
You know what's funny though, Mooch? When I see Phil say stuff like, I don't see how Helldivers 2 being exclusive to PlayStation is a good thing. Or who's that a win for? And I'm like, this guy is the fucking boss of Xbox? He doesn't see who that's a win for?
Yeah.
People literally, like, by word of mouth, bought that. Like, everybody I know bought that game.
Yeah.
I mean,
the reason is that he is looking at that, though, of trying. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. The Microsoft is about money. They don't give a rat's ass about you, me, anybody else. They don't give a shit how many games you have in your catalog. They don't care that how many Xboxes you have in your house. They don't care. They want to know how much money can we make 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the line. And the way that you do that, and the way that they have come to do that, in my opinion, is they said, our software approach and our business model has made us an assload of fucking money. And what else? What can we do with Xbox to also make us an assload of money? And they took that idea. I don't think that it was a panic. I do not think that it was a panic. I think that it was a business approach to, we see PlayStation and we see Nintendo over here, and they are doing very well in hardware sales. We want to find a way to map our own course and to try and pass them, not just in hardware. We want our stuff to be everywhere. I don't think this was an overnight panic. Oh man, we got to do this. We got to do this. I don't think it was. I do think that they got it ahead of the curve though, because I work in a world that we do data centers, and there are not enough data centers in the United States right now to support cloud gaming on the extent that people think that we're at. We're probably a good, I'd say 7 to 10 years from being at that point to where cloud gaming is going to run smooth enough for us all to want to invest into it and play on it. We're a good ways away from that.
I'm never going to play on it, and I'll never pay for a game that I can't have downloaded or own in my hand. I'm never going to do that.
And here's the thing though. You say that now, but when Microsoft forces you to have to do that.
But I have a contingency plan. I've got thousands of games and like 25 game consoles here dating back to the 1980s. Like I've got games that are still in the shrink wrap that I haven't played.
That's fine. But,
like, at a point, I'm ready to leave.
Crap said he ready for the worst.
Yeah, like, there's a point for me for sure where I see myself not buying the latest thing, and not because let's be honest, like this generation, there hasn't really been that big thing where I was like really blown away by it. You know what I mean? Like there's games that I've liked, but there hasn't been anything like, you know, when I got an original Xbox and I played Halo and I played KOTOR, I was like, holy shit, right? When I got a 360 and I played Gears of War, I was like, holy shit. When I played Uncharted 2, I was like, god damn, right? I haven't really had that sense in a long time. Like I think God of War 28, believe it or not, Detroit Become Human was a moment like that for me, like storytelling wise in 2018.
Yeah.
And the first God of War, the newer one, 2018. Like I thought that was as close to a perfect game as you could get. And I'm an Xbox guy, but it was like that was like it didn't stick around too long. It was, you know, a great story. They like it was a deep story, a heartfelt story. It was like everything you could look for. It had a twist at the end. You know, it was everything you could. And same thing with like Detroit. And that's when I thought PlayStation was really kind of firing on all cylinders at that point with their storytelling. Like anybody that I don't know who here has played Detroit, but the story,
yeah,
it's really good.
None. I played through it. I like that. That's a game that I played through back to back times. Right? It was like you want it because it's not just little changes. It's huge changes with the decisions you make. I didn't even know the changes that you could do some of that stuff. I thought it was, you know what I'm saying? But then there's so many different branches and I was just like blown away by that. And I know, like, I remember talking to, you guys probably know Rand Outdoor. Me and him were like talking to each other in DM. He's like, did you go back through it again? I was like, yeah. Like, I can't believe how amazing this game is. Like, to me, there hasn't been that big game like that this generation that I've seen anyway. I mean, I'm sure everybody else is different, but for me personally, I haven't seen that thing that kind of blew me away.
I think Xbox is affecting you, crap. You got that Xbox stenches all over you. So
what is blowing you away, man?
Anything that smells good, it's affecting you, man. The fact that Xbox is not doing so well is blinding your eyes to a lot of things, man.
What is like blowing you away where you're like, oh man, this is amazing?
Plenty games for me. Like it's beginning of the generation, Returnal, Ratchet and Clank. I love Tales of Arise. That was a great game. God of War Ragnarok. Heck, even Demon Souls was like my first time completing that game. That blew me away too, right from the rip.
That remake,
you know what I mean?
Well,
the other
done.
one, it's funny.
Some of those aren't my thing. Like I didn't like Return. I don't like roguelites, so it's like,
I know this may not be it may not be your bag either, crap, but I'll tell you another one that's it really is one of the ones when I played with a ton of people I never met before, and that's been since the 360 with like Call of Duty. Helldivers 2 has been that game for me this generation. When you go,
it's a lot of fun. Like I was playing it with Grave and my brother Hellhammer, right? And it's so fun when it works. But when
it works
you
all
lose
the time now, crap. That was like the first 2 weeks. It worked.
Yeah,
I've never.
But it's like, well, no, like listen. Every time I've tried to play it, there's been a point where one of us was booted, or and what happened? Yeah, what happens when you get booted? It won't let you just join right back because it says they're offline then. Right, it's weird. They have to reset their thing or whatever. So it's like I thought that game was so fun, but it reminded me of
the PlayStation invite rather than the game invite. Yeah, it saves you a lot of hassle.
They weren't on PlayStation, but
okay.
So it's like it's like maybe that's a problem
it is a bug. You got to give it a sec and then it'll come on. I play with a buddy of mine who's on PC and he's the main person that I play with on this and. It's just a bug. It'll like be there for like maybe like 10 seconds or something like that, and then he'll come up.
Crap, I was gonna say, I'm glad TC chimed in. I was gonna say because if I say it, it sounds like I'm just like making up for it. But like if you wait 10, he's saying 10 seconds. I've had to wait upwards of like 2 minutes sometimes, and then my PC friends will show up.
But I'm just saying, like you go through a whole map, and it's exciting. I get it, right? It is.
Well, that's the one thing when you said that. I think that was the closest thing.
But if you lose your progress once in a while, like that is crappy. Like there hasn't been a single time that I've tried to play that game where I didn't lose progress at least once. When you know what I'm saying?
I haven't
like,
had that problem. I mean, I did in the beginning when it first came out, the first 2-3 weeks.
Fixed that up.
I think they fixed it. Crap. If you went back, I really. I mean, listen, never say never.
All the stuff that you didn't get, you actually get it too. They retroactive it. So retroactive.
Yeah, I don't think you actually lost it. I remember this issue because it looked like I was going into missions and I came out and it looked like I was getting nothing. It was annoying. And then when I restarted the game. It started to pop up.
It sort of reminded me of the PS3. I remember when we used to play like Call of Duty 4 on PS3 and we tried to join a lobby and only half of us would get in the lobby. That would happen sometimes too. Like I would be in there with Hellhammer and then Grave would be like back in the lobby and he'd be like, it kicked me. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff.
Shout out to
it's
Grave.
A good game for sure. I like the game.
Crap, shout out to Grave, but everything we played with Grave, he had a hard time getting into. It didn't matter what game it was.
Hey Mooch, can I?
Go ahead, and then I want to talk a little bit about the supposed big Sony PlayStation event maybe in May. But go ahead, Brap.
Yeah, I just want to say something real quick because I got to get going here. But I want to make a quick observation. I've known you and Crap and Tim for. What,
Probably 10 years almost.
10 years plus, and I think it speaks volumes that you guys were. I mean, we had Tim on a couple weeks ago too, 2 weeks ago as well, Mooch.
Yeah.
And Tim and I talked about this. Like, you guys were part of BGST.
Oh yeah.
Like the OGs, right, of Xbox podcasting, and you guys are pillars of the community, of the Xbox community. Tim
They
being
packed them up now, though.
yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Like Tim being one of the biggest, and
Yeah.
and here you guys are, and it's like, hey, you guys are like, no, we don't like the direction of Xbox. I think that's important to highlight, because they're doing something that the pillars of the Xbox community, yourself, Crap, Tim, others, are kind of like, no, this doesn't work for us.
Yeah.
And I think people should pay attention to those things. This is important, because I remember I listened to you guys years and years ago.
Oh yeah.
And like, like you guys have been very honest, vocal about this pivot, and it's not based on hatred for Microsoft. It's based on deliverables.
It is.
Or lack thereof.
Or lack thereof, yeah.
Well, you can also look at the people that have left Microsoft, Major Nelsons and the other people like that. Like, there's a reasoning behind that, right? Like, that stuff doesn't happen by accident. Like, there's some disagreements that are going on there. There's some things going on behind the scenes. Like, I know that supposedly the Ninja Theory guy left a little while ago, but the guy who left Tango Gameworks, it's like Microsoft does have a problem keeping talent.
Yeah, right here.
Once they buy a studio.
Shinji Mikami, he left like the minute the game
I thought
released,
he was going to retire. Everybody's like he's going to retire.
Damn it,
But
no.
He faked his retirement. He wanted to get up out of there.
he did the okey doke. He's like, I'm heading out to starting my own studio again.
Crap, Uncle Pete left.
Yeah, I had heard some things about that.
Well, I
heard some things too.
I didn't hear.
They're just not good.
I didn't hear anything. I don't know, and I don't want to know. We don't have to talk about it on air, but I'll tell you right now.
I can tell from that email what he said, Phil, that he's gonna get up out of there.
It didn't sound good.
We can talk about it offline, man.
Okay, we definitely. Yeah. I'd like to know, sure, but at the same time, I got to say to you guys, like, it's that a lot of talent keeps leaving the minute they're acquired, and that speaks volumes, BRAP. I mean,
they get that
fans.
bag.
Yeah, they get their bag, and they're gone.
Yeah,
I can't tell you who's in charge of Coalition right now. I can't tell you who's in charge. I know there's a few that I know, right? Brian Fargo, he seems like a good guy over at In Exile. He's got a good thing going on over there. You've got Tim Schafer.
The game came out yet.
Man, I mean, that game looks good though. I don't know anybody that doesn't think Clockwork Revolution looks pretty good. So like I'm excited for it. I think that's a good. They're the guys that did the original Fallout games and stuff. So I think this is the first time where they've actually had a little bit of money to spend on a game. So I'm very, very optimistic with their game.
Well,
it looks good to me.
Don't get me wrong. I think that one there has the most promise of what we saw. But I'll tell you, my and Crap. I think we even spoke about this on air because we saw it a long time ago. But my interest in Avowed has started to deplete every time I watch more and more of it. So what do we keep saying all the time? Now they're acquired. Now they have infinite money and infinite time. But that hasn't transpired into a quality product. It didn't with Redfall. I still firmly, I understand you had a good time with it. I put 30 hours in. Apparently that's still not enough time.
Wait, I didn't necessarily have a good time with it. I played through it.
No, I meant
we were laughing at it because
I
meant
Starfield. You like Starfield.
Yeah.
I didn't like
Starfield.
I didn't like
Starfield.
Oh, go ahead, BRAP. I apologize. I know BRAP and TC. I've kept you. BRAP, you popped in. TC has to leave as well in a minute. But BRAP, no, I appreciate it, buddy. Let people know where they can find you.
I like Starfield. I thought it was really cool.
It definitely
obviously
had its thing.
It wasn't perfect.
Great.
I mean, like it needed a few things like a map.
Hey, Crap! I'll tell you, Crap. It was no Skyrim in space.
Yeah, I mean, there were things about it, but there were things that I loved about it, like land on a planet or a moon and hijack someone's stuff and become a smuggler. Like I did that for days. Like, that's not even part of the game, really. But like for days, I was just smuggling shit and like stealing people's ships and like kind of building an empire that way and a bunch of money. You know what I'm saying? It was like, so that game was fun, but it definitely had some issues and stuff. So I get that, but it's like, for the most part, we haven't seen like big things from Microsoft, and that's unfortunate. I hope that they can get their act together, but again, who would trust them at this point anyway, right?
That's
it's like what killed Sega wasn't necessarily the Dreamcast did bad. The Dreamcast was a great console, and they had some good games for it. The problem was they had already pissed off their fan base who didn't trust them. You know, you can't keep changing what you're doing and expect people to stick around. They're like, okay, well, here's a Sega Genesis, here's a 32X, here's a Sega CD, here's a Sega Saturn. We're only going to support this thing for like 3 years, and it's hard to develop for it. Oh, here's a Sega Nomad, here's a Game Gear. You know what I mean? Like you can't do that. And then they also were losing third-party support, which is a problem that Xbox could see before too long, because you know, if people aren't going to buy their games and they're not going to be a Game Pass, some developers might think, what's the point? Right? And that's just a real thing that they're going to have to deal with. Like, you know, they have a bunch of money, but are they going to want to spend a bunch of money, you know, getting these games on there when their people aren't going to buy them anyway? It's like they go, the biggest games are on Xbox, but I'm looking around, I'm like, y'all ain't got Final Fantasy, y'all ain't got this, y'all ain't got that. Yeah. Right? Like, you know, supposedly this KOTOR remake or the Silent Hill 2 remake or whatever. Yeah, you guys ain't got none of that stuff.
Well, crap. I mean, a quick segue there. I do want to kind of, because I did promise the people a couple other topics, and we can touch on them on a speed round here. But Jay, what do you think? Are we going to have this rumored event that's coming? And I like I said, I always watch out for him, because every time he says something, everybody runs immediately to the press. They're like, Jeff Grubb said, I'm saying, Jeff was just saying he had
That's
heard.
my man's right there, Grubb Snacks.
Yeah, absolutely, Mr. Grubb. And you know, the thing about it is he's saying major PlayStation event set for possibly May. Maybe we're going to find out about some smaller IP. I think one of the ones, this is going to make TC very happy. One of the IPs that I keep hearing about is maybe a, what is it? The Astrobot game dedicated for the PS5 Pro. Maybe these are the types of things. Do you think we're going to hear about the Pro, Jay? Are we going to hear about new IP?
I mean, everything sounds good. I mean, it kind of makes sense because we had a showcase last year around that time. So, you know what I mean? If there was to do the same thing, yeah, around that time, May, June-ish, we'll have another show. I don't know about the PS5 Pro. Maybe we'll get a harder reveal there, but I don't know about no Astrobot game. I feel like a lot of the other stuff, the side conversations, I don't really know. I'm not going to really speak on that. But when it comes to actually having like a PlayStation showcase, it does make sense. It falls in line with what they did in the past. So Jeff Grubb, like in my opinion, a lot of stuff what Jeff Grubb says, majority of the stuff that he says, it does come true. You know, a lot of people give him a lot of slack or a lot of hate when he says his stuff. But if you look at his track record is pretty good. He's just more vague than the typical inside gaming or whatnot. But his track record is pretty good. But yeah, it makes sense to me that they would have a show around that time.
So Jay, I'm with you on that. I do think we see something in May. I'm with Jeff on that as well. I do think that hardware may be a focal point, though. Right? You announce it in May, end of May, you do a show end of May, and then all of a sudden you say a September launch. Makes sense, I think. Sales of like consoles aren't going to skyrocket in June, July, and August anyway.
For me personally, though, Mooch, I feel like they shouldn't even announce the Pro there, because I feel like that will upset the community more, because we still don't know a lot of things from PlayStation.
My idea. Yeah,
I think that they need to focus on first party and announcing a roadmap when it comes to first party. Everything they've been doing been spot on when it comes to second party games, their third party developers, their partnerships. They've been pretty on point. But the first party, they have that little they haven't revealed anything really for the future of PlayStation. And I feel like this showcase should focus majority on that. Not saying that it's not going to have like, you know, stuff outside of that, but hardware I feel like is the least thing that you should worry about. Get the first party, you know, stuff showing, and then maybe after that, in the summertime, you show like, oh, we're having a Pro come out this year or whatever it comes out. But I feel like the focal point should be the first party roadmap.
I kind of like where you went with that, because I thought it was due time, but you're right. If we look at even the PS4 Pro, they did that at its own event, so maybe they will not combine the two. Detective Seeds, what do you think when you hear about this? Do you think that May? I'll break it into two then. I guess I'll say, do you believe there's going to be a May event to show what the fall or maybe early 25 of PlayStation games is going to look like? You think you're going to see something like that in May?
Yeah, I think probably May 22nd or May 23rd, 5 or 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Wow.
Probably.
That's specific.
Yeah. in that ballpark.
You went right for the time. I've never had anybody call the time.
Yeah, judging by what we've seen the last several times Sony's done an event, it's normally around 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I think they'll do it the 22nd or 23rd before Memorial Day here in the U.S. I don't think they'll do it after.
Seeds, I'm glad you said the time though, because I think crap, and I know Jay will get this because we see it a lot on Twitter. Like, the time does tell me how big the event is, right? If you're going to do a show 6 p.m., 5 p.m. Eastern Time, or later. 7, 8, that's prime time, right? Yeah. So that means you want to get Pacific, Central, Eastern. You want everybody, at least in the States. I know that that's a little late. If you go any further than 5 o'clock, it gets a little late over in the UK. And I do understand they have a really big European market. But I'm just saying, that's when I know there's going to be good stuff. I remember there was something that Xbox was showing off. I think it was crap the first time they were showing off Halo Infinite before it got delayed. And I think I'm wrong here. I know I'm wrong, but it was like, I'm going to say noon. It was like noon or 1 or 2, and I'm like, everybody's at work. The West Coast is still eating their eggs. They're still having their bacon and eggs and toast. I mean, I was like, why are you showing your biggest, like, I thought it was
unless it's on a weekend. If it's on a weekend,
well, that's different. That's different. Yeah, Sundays are different. But I'm just saying this wasn't a weekend because I believe I was watching on route to work or going from lunch or something, and I'm watching it and I'm like, this is an odd time to showcase this, and it was almost like you don't want people to see it. You know what I mean? It was weird.
If I was to say which one I'm leaning with, I would say 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Well, I would lean. Yeah, 6 makes sense for me. But again, 6 o'clock, again, that's tapping into 11 p.m. for the UK. That gets a bit late. I understand that. But that's not saying I don't think you're wrong either. So you think they'll have a separate event, Seeds, for a PS5 Pro?
I can't comment on that.
Well, it's funny, Seeds. Seeds, we gotta find out the code. We gotta crack the Detective Seeds codes. We'll have to do that behind the scenes, folks.
I have been fortunate enough to get early access to games, stuff like that. I take the NDAs and things that I signed extremely seriously.
I don't blame you, first of all. Second of all, I'd like your contacts. Okay, that being said, I am a mooch. We'll have to keep that in mind. Nonetheless, guys, I did want to kind of go over that. I'm glad you guys, I wanted to get TC's points on that, but TC did tell me he was going to have to leave early. He actually stayed the full 2 hours. Jay Barry, we need to hear your thoughts on this. I'm kind of just doing a speed run here. I want to hear your thoughts on Stellar Blade. And I know you and Persona have given your thoughts on it on What's Up PlayStation. I know you're probably going to go even more in depth now that people had more than a week to digest the demo. But this audience hasn't heard it yet, Jay. I played through the demo, which I even told my audience I wasn't going to do, but it wasn't a very long demo. So I didn't mind playing. I did not play it through. After I beat it, you can go in and do the bosses. I didn't do all that stuff. I stopped. You guys saw the footage I had here tonight. But Jay, what's the good, the bad? Is there any bad, or do you think there's anything that may make this game something that's iconic for the PlayStation?
No, I have my criticisms, but overall, I'm very positive in the game. I like the direction where they're going. I enjoy the combat a lot. Doing the boss challenge mode, it really got me to really see the layers within the combat where you can get really stylistic and stuff like that. But yeah, my biggest criticism of the game so far is just when it comes to certain because this game is very animation heavy. So when it comes to certain moves or certain attacks that you do, you're locked in an animation more than just canceling certain animations like other action games.
Yeah.
So people will say, oh, it's lag, but it's not lag. It's just the animation has to finish out. So button mashing is not necessarily. You can't button mash with this game. You got to be a little bit more methodical with what you're pressing, especially when it comes to these bosses or whatnot. But when you unlock the certain skills, you definitely can style and do a lot of cool stuff within the game. But I just feel like there's a little bit too much of those longer, especially when it comes to the heavier buttons or the specials.
Yes.
They lock you in these animations where if you do certain actions, you can't do nothing until the full animation is done. You know what I mean? I feel like they could speed that up or make
will they speed
more
it up, Jay?
moves cancelable.
Will they make those changes or no way? Not when we're a month out. Not even a month.
I will prefer them to make those changes. They don't necessarily need to do it because I still enjoy the combat. But I just feel like if you really want everyone to dive into this, it will be the right move to do. But yeah, overall, I really like it. Graphically, it looks amazing. The animations, but it's like a double-edged sword. The animations are beautiful. You know what I mean? Like every little animation that Eve does, the enemies does, you got to pay attention to those things because it's very reactive.
Yes.
As far as, okay, the hand is going up. This is the proper counter for that. You know what I mean? So you got to pay attention to the animations. I think the design so far, like of the world, is pretty cool. It reminds me of a little Souls-like or not Metroidvania, but Souls-like, where you can unlock like little shortcuts here and there. But yeah, we're definitely going to see how the world opens up or other levels within the game. But so far, just doing that boss challenge definitely gave me like a little taste. Like, all right, I think Eve is going to be a badass character because she got some cool stuff that she can do within that little challenge mode. But yeah, I like it a lot, man. I got really high hopes for it. Can't wait.
Well, you said something, Jay, that it has the community in a 50-50 split. You said it has some attributes of Souls-like. So a lot of people that are Souls, gurus that play it all the time, they say they're just not seeing the Souls reference. I'm mixed. While I'm playing in combat, I don't feel that exactly. But when I step back, I watch footage of what I played. I hear you talk about it. There's certain characteristics of how you study the enemy before you attack. And that's the same thing. I platinum Bloodborne. I'm not going to platinum Elden Ring, but I am going to get through Elden Ring before the DLC comes out. And there's Souls. There's parts of it that remind me of Souls, and that was what you were saying. You have to wait. The arm goes up. You have to almost know the enemy's attack.
Yeah, you got to pay attention to a lot of those enemy animations.
And you can't
not necessarily saying that it's a Souls game because there's no stamina bar or nothing like that. But there's certain elements there, like even with the world design from that little snippet of the demo. There's Soul elements as far as how they will craft their world. Where you got to go a long way, but you can unlock a shortcut by defeating this certain little enemy here or whatnot. You know what I mean? But yeah, I get a lot of I think this game is inspired by like Nier Automata, God of War. I get a lot of that in the game, and definitely
Sekiro.
Souls. I wouldn't necessarily say Sekiro. Sekiro is a little bit more loose. But I see why people make the comparison to Sekiro. Yeah. This game's a little bit more grounded than Sekiro. Because Sekiro, you can cancel a lot of things too. You know what I mean? Like, if you're attacking, you can just dash out of it. You can block out of it. This game, you got to respect a lot of animations. But yeah, I can get the comparison with the parries and stuff like that, like the rhythm, part of the game, like parrying, when to parry or when to perfect dodge or when to dodge. I get those elements of Sekiro, yeah. But
I was really drawn into the skills. I mean, the parry window is extremely tight.
Yes,
I don't know how much you explored the skills availability, but you definitely can see how they're setting you up to go down this path of opening it up to where that parry window is a little bit more forgiving based off of how you decide to do your build.
Yep.
So I think that was pretty cool implementation. But I did whenever I was playing through it, I got some vibes of Sekiro. I got some vibes of Nier, and the music in that game, that was a vibe, man. Like the
music is godlike, yo.
Good God, yeah, the music was incredible. So the review codes, from my understanding, are supposed to be going out the week of the 15th, and so embargo date will probably be 24th, maybe 25th. It's kind of what we've seen. That's what I've seen with Rise of the Ronin. It's normally a day or two before. So I definitely think that I hope that I'm going to review the game, and I'm going to play on the regular difficulty as intended. I wonder how many people, and I brought this up and we kind of talked about on BRAP last night, how many people are going to go down to that easier difficulty and how many are going to play as the game is intended.
Well, I'll be playing it on normal mode. That's as you say, intended.
Yeah.
I think that I've always said this. I think gaming for me is the same way when I go to, listen, if you go to Five Guys or you go to like a local, just a fun like pub, like, bar food, and you say, oh, bring over the salt and pepper or bring over the A1 sauce. That's fine. I want to smother this in ketchup. Fine. Go ahead. But when you go out to your favorite place in the city and you're paying top dollar for that amazing dish, like I'm not smothering the chef's food in A1 sauce where I can't even taste what he cooked. I'm just tasting this, the condiment. My point being is that I've always felt that like whatever, if you want to play the game harder and that's available, that's fine. If you like to play it on normal, that's the normal way. I've never gone to easier only because I want to play the game the way that, like you say, the way that the game I think was intended to be played. However, I've come to the realization in my age though, like that if they do make it easier and it doesn't take away from the, people who want to play it harder, then let more people enjoy it. I'm just past all that. Like I just enjoy the game myself. I tend to play things on a harder difficulty. I like the challenge, but I think having the option there, again, if it doesn't take away from the game, and I can't get specific, I'm not a developer, but there are certain instances where you could say, well, because they did this, it affected the way the game used to be. Okay, well, that's different. Then maybe I would change my stance. But if it's just a easy, medium, and hard, well, we've always had those difficulties of sorts from, 30 years back to today. So, yeah, Seeds, good way to put it. I kind of agree with you there. Jay, where are you on levels of difficulty? Of course, I know you, Jay. You also definitely like a challenge. I know you're going to play this. By the way, for those of you that don't know, there's a normal mode. And it's not called easy mode. I don't know what the other one's called. Story mode?
Story mode.
Yeah, story.
So normal is the hardest you could play it on. So I'll be playing on normal. Jay, where are you deciding to play, and how do you feel about that?
I'm playing on normal, and if they have like a hard difficulty that unlocks, absolutely, man. I'll be there as well. I like the challenge. I think it's a cool, nice, challenging game. Like I said, I highly recommend people do the boss challenge. I got a video on my YouTube channel now where I did like a no heal run. I got a no hit run. I'm gonna be uploading. I'll upload that one soon. But it's a dope game. I like story modes. I feel like those modes, it just takes away too much from the game as far as like how the game was intended to be played, because it just makes it way too easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. It's interesting. I think that timing and Seeds, when he was like, I think the PlayStation event is going to be May 23rd at 5:35 p.m. Eastern time. I was like, wow, that's specific. I will say one thing, Seeds. Timing is a big deal. Jay, we talk about this a lot. I know you guys do. Like I believe it's April 28th when it drops. Like the next game is going to be 26th. Thank you. And then you have the Hellblade comes out May 21st. I think so. It's all off memory, guys. I don't remember.
Yeah, Hellblade is like May 20 something. I know that. So
it's basically a month. There's a month without a new. Is there another new release in there that I'm missing? I think that gives Stellar Blade the opportunity to take, the spotlight for a month. That's a big deal. That is a big deal. I think when you're
that Stellar Blade week, there's a lot of games. I mean, a lot of people might not care about those other games like the Edoming Chronicles and the smaller titles, but there's a lot of games coming out that week, that 20th or 26th week.
What's coming out? What did you say? What was it?
The Eden Chronicles.
Yeah, Eden Chronicles. I think the Saga Emerald.
Oh, okay.
That's coming out.
And
there's another game too. I think. Oh, there's the Tales of the game that's coming out. Yeah, that's coming out to PS Plus. I think that comes out that week of Stellar Blade as well. I think it's the 21st though. I'm not too sure, but
I think you're okay. What date does Grounded come out on PlayStation?
It might be the same week too. It might be the same week. Let me double check.
Well, I think that's the week that Sea of Thieves also isn't. I thought Sea of Thieves came out end of April. That last week.
Did you see that Sea of Thieves has 200 and what did I tweet today?
250 trophies. I was not. I probably. I'll be honest with you in the audience. 10%. There's a 10% chance I would pick that up on PlayStation. But when I saw the trophies, it went up to like 15%.
250 trophies.
Sea of Thieves is the day before Stellar Blade.
There you go.
Oh yeah, because they got 7 seasons in that game.
Yeah, so there's a lot of trophies, man. A lot of trophies.
Oh, Grounded is the 16th.
Okay, so
the week before.
Yeah, that one's a 0% chance. I didn't even play that one on Xbox.
I didn't either.
I did play Sea of Thieves for a bit. Lost interest in it. I wish they had a little bit more of the emphasis on the combat. I know it's supposed to be, about, grabbing the money and getting back and doing that, but to me that got old kind of quick. The water
Grounded had a really cool concept. I just didn't like the direction the developer went as far as we want the community to build the story or the narrative of the game. Create an actual game and put it out there. The concept was cool. The Honey I Shrunk the Kids type of survival element type thing. It's a cool concept, but put an actual game out there. You know what I mean?
So it's not like that, Jay. So if we were to just start up Grounded right now, there isn't a world out there for us to build, and I thought you have to have the community. You have to pick a community's type of playground, or no? I really don't know. I didn't look into that at all.
I don't either.
Yeah.
So Tales of Ken Zara Zao, that comes out the same week. Sandland comes out the same day. I'm telling you, that week that Stellar Blade comes out is a lot of games coming out, man.
Well, that Tales game, isn't that the one that's going to be in PlayStation Plus day one?
Yeah, it's going to be a PS Plus day one. Yeah. And the Dave the Diver.
Dave the Diver. Which that one I didn't see too much about. I don't know too much about that. The Tales one actually looks amazing. That game has got PlayStation Portal written all over it.
It's got a really cool story to it too. The developer talked about it's like a tribute, I believe, to his father.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, his father passed away or something like that.
We saw that. That was in the was that in the Xbox showcase?
It was in one of it might have been Keeley's show. I don't remember, but he kind of got on stage and he talked about it, and it really had
Keeley's,
a cool concept.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
It was Keeley's.
I think it was Keeley's show, and it just. I'm assuming he got a pretty good check from PlayStation to put it in to PS Plus, during that time. So,
shout out to
I look forward to checking it out. I think it looks pretty cool.
Absolutely. Weezard says, "What's with the weird obsession with the trophies?" He goes, "Who the hell cares? Who needs medals and chocolate?" So I mean, I look at
dude,
it's weird to say. So the achievements thing grew old on me quick. That I didn't care so much. I liked it in the beginning, and then I was like, wait a minute. Once your number reaches 67,242, you're like, all right, because some of the games had put awkward 1 point achievements or 5, and it ended up being a weird number at the end of the day. I will say the trophy system, there's a bit of really cool competition in the community, and I like that, and I see how it's sparked, and it's like there's something really cool to when somebody says, "Oh, did you ever play Bloodborne?" and you show the platinum, or you show Days Gone and you show the platinum, or you show God of War and you show the platinum, and you're like, all the Spider-Mans, you have all the platinums, like The Last of Us, you have the platinum. Like, to me, it does a few things. It just shows your dedication to that game and how much you like it, because you're not going to play that just for the trophy. If you're playing for the platinum, you are most definitely, you love the game. I mean, you love the game.
If you go to my channel right now, you're going to see my stupid face on thumbnails, because I am not only do reviews, but I am addicted to chasing after platinum trophies. That's pretty much all I do now, along with reviews.
But I would also say, in defense to people who say, like Weezard, who says I don't like it, that's fine too. That's completely fine. Like I actually, we've had, and I don't remember which one said it. I think I remember I was talking to Dreamcast guy. DC's been on the show a bunch of times. Had Spawn Wave Media on a bunch of times. I think DC goes more for the platinums. He's got a lot of trophies. If I'm saying it wrong, guys, you listen to the show or someone lets you hear it, I apologize if I got it mixed up. I think Spawn Wave says he doesn't. I think, and shout out to RGT85 Sean. He also said he does not. He's like, I don't. I play through the game. I have fun. I enjoy it. When I'm done, I'm done. Like, he goes, if I really love the game and I play it through a second time, it's not necessarily because I'm going to get the trophy. It's because I just enjoyed the game. So there's that too. And I'll be honest with you. So Jay Barry, who he's definitely got the platinums in pretty much all of the Final Fantasies that I know. Like Final Fantasy 16, when I go through Final Fantasy games, I give it my utmost ability. Like when I went, right now I'm playing through Rebirth, I'm on chapter 6. But when I went through chapter 2 and chapter 4, where you have to go through and you have to get every single thing and every collectible, you have to play every game, you have to do every mini game. I do everything. I play every single game of Queen's Blood. I played a lot more than I was supposed to. I actually like Queen's Blood. So I'm playing through this ball. I 100% every area. Now, when I get to the end of the game, if they're like, there's 60 trophies and I only have like 47 in a game like that I put so many hours into, I'm probably not gonna platinum that game. That's just me. But like other games, I will. But I give my undivided attention. Same thing with Final Fantasy 16. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I didn't platinum it, but I got a lot of trophies. I'm like just short of it. Not when I say just short, I mean like 5, probably like 10 short or 11 short. But like it's just because I missed certain things, or maybe I didn't do something in a certain order, or maybe it's because I didn't play it through 2 or 3 times. That's something that
majority of the games I play, I don't platinum. But I will platinum a game if I complete the game and I'm like at 60% trophy level. I'm like, I might as well just go for the platinum. But if I really, really love a game, it don't matter. I'm gonna just go and try to platinum the game for sure. Like Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, that is a tough platinum.
Yes,
but I'm going for it. I got a few more trophies I got to do, or a few more things I got to do, and then I'll do my hard mode, playthrough, and
okay,
I'll probably be done.
So you're mopping everything up, Jay, and then you're gonna go through your last trophy. Will be hard mode.
Yeah, I'm damn well 200 hours in. That's trying to do these goddamn mini games and stuff like that, man. Some of them it's difficult.
They are.
Or it's just me myself. It's not necessarily difficult. It's just because I see other people like the piano games, right?
Yep.
Other people they can do the piano real easy. For me, it's tough. So it takes me a longer time to get that done than other people can do.
So for me, by the way, the music in the game is off the charts good. So when you do the piano, actually, like the piano missions that I've side games that I've done, Jay, what you use for your right thumbstick, I've got that down to it. It's the combos that I'm finding.
The one with the left and the right.
Yeah, the left-right combos. Because I don't know, maybe it's because listen, we're all either better with the left side of our brain or the right side of our brain, right? I don't know if one's more artistic, one's more math and science. I don't know. But anyways, I have
one of the comments in chat real quick. Guy said, video 0908, only no life losers get platinums. Don't you have anything else to do with your life? No, that's why we go after platinums.
No, good stuff, guys. Honestly, great talking games with you guys. I know we kind of went a little bit long on the Xbox and the Hellblade 2 stuff, but I think it's just the community has been talking about it all day long. And I had a certain set of things that we were going to discuss tonight and get a little bit more in depth with. I'll save some of those for some of the fire rounds that we go through next week, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. But as you can see, we had an outstanding panel tonight. I appreciate it. A lot of guys said they had to go early, which they didn't leave early. They stayed for 2 hours. I can't say thanks enough to those guys. And I'll give them a shout out when we're done here. But guys, please do hit that like button. I see Domino Zero. I see Brian East out there. Shout out to JC 2013 who was out there getting all those likes. Guys, hit that like button. Show Mooch a little bit of love there. Shout out also to Lotus Spirit again. I want to give him credit and I want to say thank you. He's been motivating the chat all night long. Outstanding super chat. Became a Mooch Maniac family member. He says, as someone who has played on every console, I am thoroughly enjoying this talk when we were going through the 360 PlayStation era and major, these are discussions and these are feelings that people have in the community. And it's great to have this platform to be able to do that. Lord Metroid also says, no offense taken when we were talking about the handheld market and also how Nintendo can do whatever they want. He goes, Nintendo's still the handheld GOAT. Shout out to you, Lord Metroid. Upchuck Gaming, he says, just supporting. Dope podcast. I appreciate that, Upchuck. Thank you. You've been here for a long time as well. Archwar Angel says, Crap Gamer sounds like Xbox to me. So shout out to Archwar. And your boy Roy says, joining late. Can't wait to listen tomorrow. Good to see Crap. And Seeds is a great guest. I agree. We're going to have Seeds on a lot more. I got to talk to Seeds behind the scenes. He does a lot of work on his channel, and he's very active. But the more we can get him on here, the better. I completely agree with that. Guys, thanks for the super chats. Thank you for joining the donations also by Lotus. The donations by Detective Seeds. He gave out 10 when we started the show. That's why you're seeing so many great green names out there. I love it. Makes it the whole... You're just all family members at this point. It feels great. I'll go in reverse order here and say, Detective Seeds, you're a big fan here. Everybody loves you. The chat's in love with you. They say more seeds, bring more seeds. So we'll have to have you back on the show again, DS. I'll reach out to you. We'll see what your schedule looks like. But let everybody know where they can find you. And Seeds, thank you for the support of being a panel member. And thanks for the support as well in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you reaching out initially, last week to set things up and just allowing me the time to come onto your show and trusting me. A lot of people don't, and that may not appreciate it. It takes a lot of trust to allow someone to come on to be part of a show. And so I just want to say thank you for that. Detective Seeds on Twitter. And then on my channel, if you do like those weird guys that like to hunt platinum trophies, that would be myself. I do also get a lot of early access to do reviews and previews. It's at Detective Seeds. I'm getting pretty close to 17,000 subscribers. So, yeah, that's those are the two places you can check me out. Jay, man, I appreciate chopping it up with you tonight, man. It's nice to meet you.
Yeah, man. Good talking to you.
Be on here. And Mooch, thanks again, man. And we'll talk behind the scenes, set something up. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate you.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, the great Jay Barry, everybody. Jay, honestly, I said this a long time ago, and I'm going to say it again. There was you guys, you and Persona even put a poll out a while ago. You're like, what can we do different? And I was so glad that the poll, I voted, and it was like, keep doing what you're doing, because not only is What's Up PlayStation just one of my favorite podcasts. You guys talk about gaming. Of course, you had the great Sean Layden on, and it's hard to say this, but your second interview was better than your first interview. You just keep getting better with it. And Sean and you guys have this unbelievable, comfortable relationship, which makes the podcast just that much better. It's just so good to hear you guys talk to him. He speaks from the heart. You guys speak from the heart. But the one thing that you guys do on What's Up PlayStation that a lot of shows don't do is you talk about games. And like it excites me. You're like, yo, this game is coming out, and you'll say certain games. And it's funny, you mentioned a couple of games that were coming out the week of Stellar Blade, and I was like, oh my god, because I remember you guys have been talking about it. It's on your spotlight, and it's like you guys bring up the games, you bring things to the forefront, and you talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you don't hold back. And yes, you talk about the news and the related things that are going on, same thing that we do here, but you guys get into depth on video games, and that's why we're all here. That's why this chat is here. It's why the panel assembles every week. Listen, before this show, I got another. I know this is not as cool, but I got another W in Warzone. Like I played right up till we went live, just because, and I'm gonna play again tonight. Like for me personally, it's always been a big part of my life. So I really enjoy What's Up PlayStation brings to people. So shout out to you. Shout out to you. Thank you also, Jay, for also supporting the channel for as long as you have. You and Persona. You guys are amazing. I just want to say thanks, Jay. Let people know where they can find you. And you guys are my New York brothers. So I'm definitely going to be talking to you guys again real soon about getting you on the show.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. We go way back, Mooch. So
yes, sir.
It's always a pleasure. When I can come on here. I come on here and rock it out with you guys, man. I enjoy CrossFire because everybody have difference of opinions. Sometimes it can get heated. Sometimes but I think people have a lot of mutual respect here for the majority of the time. So
yes,
it's always a good time to speak to people with different mindsets and all that stuff about gaming. But I appreciate the love. All the kind stuff you said about Whoops. What's Up PlayStation podcast every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern time with my bro Gaming with Persona. And we've been doing that for like 3 years. It's been a pleasure doing that stuff. We did have Sean Layden on one of our recent shows. Once again, friend of the show. We will have another interview coming up very soon. This one is a little bit more dear to my heart. As far as the person that is coming in to the show. So super excited to announce that when that gets set up. But What's Up PlayStation podcast or What's Up PlayStation. You can just type that in, subscribe if you guys want to. And hopefully you guys enjoy your stay. As far as for me, Jay Barry on YouTube, @JBarry_ on Twitter. Don't follow me if you're sensitive, because I do crack my jokes. I do I do speak from the heart. A lot of things that Xbox gamers are saying now. Our brother been saying that for years, but they call me toxic when I was saying it. But it is what it is.
This is true.
It is what it is, though, man. But this was a fun show, man. Hearing, my man Crap, Just let it out.
Oh, yeah.
He
did.
Soon he's gonna let it go, man. He's gonna let it go.
Yes,
but
he is.
At the end of the day, what brings us to these podcasts, what brings us together, is our love for gaming. That's
right.
one accord. I feel like a lot of people have, regardless of what platform you prefer to play on it. We still love to play video games, and that's where you can have a podcast with multiple people, and we have a constructive or good conversation. So, yeah, man, it's a pleasure coming on here, and I appreciate the invite.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate it. Shout out also to the great Gaming with Persona. That's at Persona Speaks. Go over and follow him as well over on Twitter. And it's Gaming with Persona on YouTube. Does some great solo casts as well as the great Jay Barry does on his channel as well. Always, that's my ride home. I want to always chat when Persona's doing his solos, but I'm driving, so I'm like, I know that once you know the way it is, Jay, too. So you come in here and everyone's like, yo, Jay, what's up? I go in there like, Mooch, what's up? And I'm like, I'm driving, so I can't communicate, so I'm always just listening. But Persona keeps my drive home, especially when he does his Monday shows. Just keeps it in Tuesdays, keeps it lit. So I love it. Please keep up the work. I want to give a couple shout outs real quick to the guys that had to leave. TCMF Games, that's at TCMF2 over on Twitter. TCMF Games over on YouTube. Shout out to the great Eric Jackson. Eric couldn't make it tonight. Had some things come up, but me and Eric have been talking literally almost every day in the Twitter DMs, and Eric will be on hopefully next week. Shout out to Red Hood, who also got out of work late. Red was going to be here. He wrote me in the middle of the show, said, Mooch, I can't make it. I'll be there next week. So shout out to Red Hood 420. Really appreciate him being here as well. The great Crap Gamer. Crap. Me and Crap known each other for a very long time. It's really a lot of fun to have Crap on the show. He loves gaming. I can't specify that enough for you guys. He legitimately loves it. He wears his emotions on his sleeve. He puts everything out there. Go over and follow my boy Crap over. It's at @the_Crap Gamer on Twitter, and it's Crap Gamer Reviews over on YouTube. Guys, go over and give him a like and check out his videos as well. That being said, guys, outstanding show. Looking forward to next week already. I'm going to be on gaming all weekend. I don't have a lot planned, which is phenomenal after, of course, the holiday weekend last week. And we are going to be doing our Twitch stream of Elden Ring. We're continuing it Saturday. And then we'll be back Monday and Tuesday again on Twitch. So we're doing 3 days a week on Twitch, and then we're doing here on YouTube on Thursdays. That's same thing here as over there. M00CHTV. Drop the O's for zeros, guys. We'll see you next Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Enjoy your night. Enjoy your weekend. Go out there and game, and we'll catch you guys very, very soon. Peace out and good night.